Possession, a Football Romance, Stone Creek University. Written by Lainey Davis. Narrated by Crystal Crockett. Chapter 1. Olive.
Hey, Liv, you got any mac and cheese?
His texts come at all hours. He's always hungry whenever practice lets out, and the dining halls are always closed by the time coach lets the team go from evening practice. But does Baxter Morgan keep his cupboard stocked with snacks? No, he does not. And I definitely enable him. I sigh. I tap back. Of course I've got mac and cheese.
You're a lifesaver. See you in 10.
I remember the first day I met Baxter Morgan. His family bought the house next to mine months prior, but my parents were never the type to bring over a casserole or welcome anyone to the neighborhood. I was 8 years old, and I didn't really have the words to explain that my parents' drunken arguments terrified me. But I knew I felt better when I climbed inside the forsythia hedge between our two properties and hid there until my parents screamed themselves to sleep. One night, I nearly peed my pants when I heard the leaves rustle and the branches parted to reveal a curly head in the dark. Wide brown eyes blinked at me. He looked like he'd been crying too, but neither of us ever talked about that. "I'm not supposed to talk to you," I told him that night in the hedge. He shrugged and climbed in, sitting next to me in the dirt. "Yeah, well, I'm not supposed to talk to anyone." In the 12 years since, we've hardly been separated. Baxter Morgan is my best friend in the entire world, the only person I consider family. He comes to kill the spiders I find in my dorm. I buy him processed cheese pasta, and we look out for each other. There's just one problem. I'm hopelessly, fully, desperately in love with him. Bax taps on the glass window of my dorm room, and I ease it open for him. We figured out that if I got a single room on the back side of the first floor of McPherson Hall, he could get around the visiting hours and no male overnight guests rules by climbing in and out as he pleased. The microwave beeps as I try not to stare at the exposed skin on his muscular back when his t-shirt catches on the windowsill. This one-sided attraction I've got, it's just something I have to deal with, something I have to figure out how to tamp down. He sinks into the couch beneath my loft bed, groaning in pleasure as I hand him the steaming bowl of microwaved noodles.
Fuck, Liv. This hits the spot.
I have to choose, like always, if I'm going to sit at a safe distance across the room from him in my computer chair or curl up next to him on the love seat, waiting for his silent signals that it's okay to rest my head on his sweaty shoulder. I used to just enjoy being near Bax, just felt warm and safe around him. I'm not sure when all that shifted so that my pulse races and I feel flutters deep in my belly, just thinking about the scent of his soap. Jesus, I am so far gone. I don't even care that he smells like a shoe after practice. It's sweet, agonizing torture to touch him and know that his soothing hugs mean something different to him. I'm the sister he never had. He's told me so again and again, and it's true. Bax is family to me, but my heart just hasn't caught up with the rational part of my brain. It'll happen. Eventually, this lust I feel for him will pass, and all that will remain is the deep bond of friendship. That happens, right? We grew up together. We went through some terrible shit together. We look out for each other. It's not my fault he's drop-dead gorgeous, with the body of an elite college athlete. Baxter Morgan is objectively hot as sin. His light brown curls are always just the slightest bit overgrown. His deep brown eyes are always just the slightest bit puppy dog. And that deep voice of his melts my bones as it vibrates through my body.
Hello? Liv?
Shit, he's talking to me and I drifted off again, obsessing about our relationship. Sorry, what's up, B? He talks with his mouth full, inhaling the bowl of noodles in just a few forkfuls.
I asked if you were coming to my game on Saturday. We're home this week.
I grin and tussle his hair, still damp with sweat from practice. And just when have I ever missed a home game? He nudges me with his elbow.
Hello. You missed the game against Ohio.
I was in the hospital with pneumonia, asshole. He grins and reminds me that he tried to convince the coaching staff and the hospital to set me up in one of the executive suites in the stadium, IV pole and all.
I play better with you there,
he says, tossing the empty bowl on the milk crate I use for a coffee table. He belches and leans back in the seat with his hands clasped behind his head, stretching his long legs out and practically filling up my entire room. I wrap my arms around his broad chest for a hug and murmur into his shirt that I need to get back to my homework. I've got an 8 a.m. class tomorrow. I say, hoping but not actually daring to hope that he'll lift my chin and kiss me until I don't notice that I'm tired. I don't want his usual peck on the cheek or the top of the head. That's standard fare for us. No, I want Baxter Morgan to kiss me, like I see him doing to the countless jersey chasers over the years. I want him to slam me against the wall during a party and roll his hips against mine, take me by my hand and lead me back to his room and destroy my body. But he doesn't do any of those things. He stands and stretches, giving me another painful glimpse of his abs, when that damn t-shirt rises up again. He leans down and pecks me on the top of my head and squeezes my shoulder.
Don't work too late. You do your best thinking while you're asleep anyway.
Who told you that? He lifts the window and starts climbing out, winking at me as he goes.
Smartest gal I know.
And then he's gone into the night, leaving me to my essay. Chapter 2. Bax.
Fuck, I mutter as I brush myself off. Climbing in and out of Olive's window is getting old. I know I shouldn't call her at all hours, but I swear, if I don't see her at least once every day, I feel tight through my chest, like my skin doesn't fit. She has absolutely no idea what it does to me when she sits with me on that damn musty couch she's got in her dorm room. She wraps her soft little body against mine, and it feels so fucking right that I have to remind myself that it's 100% wrong for me to have the filthy thoughts I have about Olive Hampton. Liv is like family to me. Scratch that. Liv is the only family I've got left. Until my family moved next to hers, I didn't know there were other kids who lived with constant screaming and terror. I always thought I was some shitty-ass outlier whose parents only spoke in mean digs and cutting exaggerations. My dad's a football coach. They're supposed to yell, right? Yeah, not like my old man. Something turned sour inside him a long time ago. The old fucker stopped raising a hand to me when I got big enough to let him know I wouldn't hesitate to hit him right back, but he hit me plenty when I was smaller. Olive was the only one who knew the bruises all over my legs weren't really from pee-wee football. She used to risk her own neck, stealing Tiger Balm from her parents' bathroom after they passed out. I got my first hard-on, trying to ignore Olive's touch as she rubbed that shit onto my black and blue back. Me and Liv had a secret spot in the backyard, hiding inside the forsythia bushes neither of our parents ever got up the energy to prune. By the end of middle school, I had rigged a hammock in there, and I spent most evenings with Olive, tucked inside, trying to convince myself that the feelings I was having were brotherly. There's nothing brotherly about the way I inhale Olive shampoo when she leans that blonde head on my shoulder. Her big brown eyes are always so kind, and she sees everything. She can look right into my soul. My heart races when our skin connects. But I know I can't cross a line with Olive. She trusts me, and I know what that means. I can't fuck that up for her. That's what I do with women. I fuck shit up. Hell, I never had anyone to show me how human beings are supposed to interact with each other. Nobody but Olive. By the time I get back to my suite, my dick has pretty much calmed down. The football team gets some pretty nice living arrangements. I feel bad that Olive only has a tiny-ass room and has to share a bathroom with her whole hall. She's here on academic scholarship that includes room and board, but the smart kids don't get anything like what they give the football team. I've got my own room with a king-sized bed and only have to deal with one other guy's funk in the bathroom. Plus, we've got people who clean for us. When I open the door, the other 3 guys in my suite are spread out in the living room, watching Maryland's game against Arkansas from last week. "Morgan," they grunt in greeting. I kick Finnegan's leg out of the way and sit on the couch, studying the Maryland running backs, watching the lines they run. Most guys dream of being a quarterback or some shit when they fantasize about professional football. I always figured, if my old man was going to force me into this sport, I was going to play where I could fucking hit someone. Defensive players don't get much glory in the grand scheme of things, but I can pretend each one of those fucking RBs is one of my asshole parents. And trust me, years of frustration make a pretty damn good motivator. There's a reason I'm here on a full ride. Scotty hands me a beer, and I crack it open, trying not to think about my fucked up family. We've got a game this weekend. One thing I know is I'm not going to be able to climb any further away from the hellhole of my childhood without going pro. Olive Hampton is going to go anywhere she wants after SCU. My girl's a damn genius. My dad wasn't wrong about me being dumber than a bag of rocks, though. This game is all I've got going for me. "Coach said new guy is going to see some playing time against Maryland," Scotty says, referring to the QB transfer. Our guy JT sprained something in his thumb. Scotty fucking knows I don't like this new asshole because he doesn't treat Olive with the respect she deserves. I grunt. I don't like it, and I don't like him. Player's family gets treated like royalty. It's a fucking unspoken common sense team law. You do not fucking stare at the tits and ass on your teammate's sister or their girlfriend. And this new guy hasn't got it in his thick head yet that Olive Hampton is off limits. I have years of experience keeping other assholes from acting on their dirty thoughts when it comes to Olive Hampton. The thought of any other guy laying a hand on her body makes my blood boil. In high school, it was easy to step in whenever any of the scumbags from Fulton High School got ideas. None of them were worthy of her. It's a hell of a lot harder to make sure she's safe now that we're at a huge university. We have a kind of unspoken rule about not telling each other about sex stuff. I'd probably puke if she went into detail about that, like she tells me about her literature classes and the utterly breathtaking book she's reading for her fiction class. But at least I know that nobody from the Otters athletic department will come within winking distance of my Olive. I really don't want to have to get my ass suspended over this, but as I finish my beer, I decide I'm going to have to make it crystal clear how far off limits my live is.
Chapter 3. Olive.
That's a wrap, folks.
Justin, the head trainer, tosses the last roll of bandages into the bucket, declaring the training room ready for the coming week. With 4 of us working, the grunt work of restocking flew by. I stand and do a little dance, happy that Justin is going easy on us. Even though I'm just an undergrad, I've gotten to work in the football team training room all 4 years. I'm sure Bax had a lot to do with SCU's decision to allow a work-study student anywhere near their valuable football players. I've gotten some amazing opportunities in this room, and I'll fold splints and stack tape as long as it takes to stay here. My other friends studying kinesiology get to do a few weeks here and there with some of the smaller sports. They'll wrap wrists with tennis or help massage the gymnasts. I know I'm lucky that I not only get to be in the football space, but I actually get to help work with the players hands-on. It helps that Bax tips me off when he hears someone's been struggling. He'll text me if someone's shoulder aches or if someone else's hip stings after tackle drills. Often, my hunches about a diagnosis sound downright clairvoyant to the training staff when I reveal a blossoming stress fracture or a ligament sprain. I grin, remembering the wide receiver whose shin splints I was able to ease up before he missed a game. I feel a hand on my shoulder and turn around. Julia and Gabe gesture toward the door. "It's early," she says. "We're all grabbing a drink. Come with us." I should go home and study. I should go home and pretend I'm not waiting for a text from Baxter asking me for chicken nuggets or Hot Pockets. "Yes, Hampton." Justin claps his hand on my other shoulder, steering me toward the door. "Staff meeting at the Dark Horse. Pronto." I guess if my boss insists, I have no choice. I have just enough time to grab my bag before my friends are dragging me out of the building and into the autumn night. I hardly ever go out during the week, and I drink alcohol even less often than that. I've got too much writing on my grades, and if I'm honest, I'm worried I'll turn out like my parents. Bitter, angry, struggling with alcoholism. Baxter always said at least my drunk parents had an excuse to scream and yell. His dad's just ornery, broken inside. I shake away these thoughts and order a spritzer. The trainers are already settled into a corner booth, passing around shots of whiskey, toasting geeky things like rotator cuffs and springy groins. "Another spritzer?" Julia raises an eyebrow at me. She knows I don't really drink. She's in graduate school for sports medicine and rehabilitation, but we've been friends for a few years. Not the sort of friends who open up about my parents on a bender, dragging me through the front yard by the ponytail. Only Bax knows those parts of my past. I smile and take a sip as Justin drapes an arm around my shoulder. "To ice and stem and no blown ACLs," he says, raising his glass. I stare at his arm, trying to figure out what it means that he put it around me. I stiffen, and he pulls it back into his lap. "Come on, Olive," Julia says, holding the glass of brown liquid toward me. "The boss is toasting. We're about to be neck-deep in football stench. You gotta drink at least one shot with us." She grins. She's probably right. I remind myself how lucky I am to have this opportunity and gain this experience. Justin probably is including me because he thinks I'm doing a good job. Right? I shrug and accept Julia's glass, clinking it with Justin's. I feel the warm drink burn as it slides down my throat. I shake my head and slam the glass back on the table. Justin stares at me for a long while, and I see Julia notice. She slides closer to Gabe. They've become sort of a thing this semester, and winks at me. I sip at my spritzer. I know my boss is not too much older than me. He got hired at SCU Athletics right after he finished his master's. But I don't want to cross any boundaries that might impact my work. He's a good trainer, and I have a lot to learn from him, especially if I want a funded position in graduate school. He reaches to tuck a lock of my blonde hair behind my ear, and I turn to face him, eyes wide. First of all, only Bax has touched me like that, but Bax and I are just friends. Maybe this is just how guys show they care about the women in their lives. It feels off, and I don't like it. I cough and excuse myself to go get another non-alcoholic drink. In line at the bar, all I can think about is how angry Baxter would get if he saw. He's always worried someone is going to take advantage of me, whatever that means. I let the whiskey settle into my blood while I try to figure out what I should do next. While I imagine what it would be like to want someone other than Baxter for a change. Just when had my hair begun to stand on end at the brush of Baxter's skin against mine? And how do I explain the very different feeling I got when my boss touched me back there? Coming back to the booth, I slide into the easy conversation with the others. Justin doesn't give me any more lingering glances and doesn't touch me again, so I tell myself I probably overreacted. He's probably getting excited about the game this weekend. As I relax, I find myself talking about research plans with Julia and Gabe. They're both focusing on knee research, which is good business for people who work with football players. I tell them how I've always been fascinated by the shoulder. It's such a delicate joint connected to so many muscles. I do not tell them my first foray into shoulder trauma was when Bax injured his dodging a blow from his father. That night in the Forsythia hideout, I helped to massage his joint, stretch his arm, soothe him. That's when I started checking sports medicine books out from the library and learning all that I could about how all the body's wonderful parts work together. Out loud in the bar, though, I just tell them how I started shadowing and interviewing athletic trainers in high school when I was tagging along after Baxter Morgan, just like now. Before I realize it, the bartender is calling last drinks. Shit, I say. It's late. Julia and Gabe slink off together, his thumb creeping down the waistband of her jeans. I sigh, sort of dreading walking home alone in the dark. "Let's get you home then," Justin says, slapping a few bills on the table. I nod and smile as he picks up my coat, standing behind me while I shrug into it. He's looking out for me. This is fine. "You live in McPherson, right? I'm parked not far from there." We walk close together, but not quite touching, and he asks me about the coming week. "We've had a pretty uneventful preseason with practices," he says. I nod. "I didn't like the look of JT's thumb this week, though." I know Baxter agrees with him. The starting quarterback will be missing this weekend's game. The second-string quarterback is a transfer student named Kevin. I've always thought he seemed nice and polite, but Baxter says Kevin stares at me. I don't mention any of this to Justin, but I do ask him what they're doing about JT's thumb. As we walk, we talk through the football roster, and Justin asks me how I've enjoyed the slower pace in the training room this summer. I did a 6-week turn working with the soccer team when I got my scholarship extended to summer semester. "Those guys are all pulled hamstrings and strained quads," I say, laughing. "Easy as pie." As we approach my building, joking together, I see a hulking figure leaning against the door of my dorm. As we approach, he stalks over to us, and I see that it's Baxter. He looks livid. I feel relieved. Justin nods in Bax's direction. "That you, Morgan?" Bax doesn't register that Justin spoke to him.
"Where the hell have you been?"
He practically snarls at me.
"I've been calling you for hours. Hours, Olive."
"Oh, crap," I tell him. I turn my phone off when I'm at work, and I must have forgotten to turn it back on when we went to the bar. I click the power button, and it starts vibrating in my hand, with text after text, and voicemails all from Bax. I know this is a big deal, because he probably thought I was in trouble. Growing up, I often was in trouble. My parents often passed out drunk and forget to bring me home. Bax always managed to find me. He must have been searching for me all over campus when I didn't answer my phone.
"Easy there, big guy." Justin reaches out to pat Bax on the shoulder. "She was with me."
This does not elicit the desired effect. Baxter's nostrils flare, and he looks, if possible, even more angry.
"Don't you fucking touch me,"
he says.
"Whoa,"
Justin says, with his hands up.
"Olive, you okay here with this thug? Need me to stick around till you get inside?" "No,"
Bax and I say at the same time, and my eyes whip up to meet his. Justin knows perfectly well how important Baxter is in my life. Baxter runs his hands through his curls and drags his palms down his cheeks.
"Olive is family, man. And she's been off the grid, and now I see her coming home with some dude in the middle of the night."
He glares at Justin.
"I drew conclusions."
Justin doesn't say anything, but he narrows his eyes and looks darkly at Baxter. "Bax," I reach for his arm. "I'm okay. I just forgot to turn my phone back on." He looks Justin up and down and sighs. I can see his body start to relax, and he pulls me into a tight hug.
"I was worried, Liv."
Justin shrugs.
"I was just walking her home, dude. Like you said, it's late."
Baxter takes a step back and looks a little ashamed of his outburst. But I'm still on the fence about how to interpret everything that's happened since I got to the bar. Bax holds out a hand toward Justin.
"I'm sorry, man. You're right. I should thank you for seeing her home safe."
Justin puts his much smaller hand in Baxter's and looks up into his face.
"See you after practice tomorrow, right, Morgan?"
Baxter nods, and after a few moments of awkward silence, Justin excuses himself and walks off into the dark. Chapter 4. Bax.
My heart won't stop pounding in my chest. Logically, I knew Olive was probably fine. She loses track when she's working on someone. She would never admit this, but she basically goes into a trance when she's with an injured athlete. Her thumbs work along their limbs, assessing until she finds exactly the right spot. She thinks it's cheating that I let her know when someone's hurting, and she lists the diagnosis to her boss, but I've seen the way she listens. She watches their gait, observes the way they hop up on the table. She doesn't need me to tell her that Scotty has shin splints. She'd figure it out in a heartbeat. Olive is going to have a bright future healing people. I fucking hate every second of her putting her hands on my teammates, but I know she doesn't see them any certain way. And even though the guys don't feel about her the way I do, I know none of them would disrespect her, ever. Tonight, though, when I couldn't find her, took me back to all those nights in high school when not being able to reach Olive meant that she wasn't safe. Stranded at school after dark when her parents forgot to come get her. Stuck at work when her parents forgot to come get her. You get the picture. It's not like we had public transportation where we grew up, and neither of us had any money for a cell phone back then. More times than I can count, I'd sneak my mom's car out of the garage and make the circuit, searching for Olive. When I'd find her, we'd cling to each other like Velcro. Olive never cried, but she'd tremble in my arms, and I knew she felt alone. Frightened. She always gets the shakes after something scary. I think it's because she puts so much focus into staying cool during a crisis. I hate that Olive has so many crises. So yeah, it freaks me out when she's AWOL. One of the first things I did with my monthly stipend from SCU was buy cell phones for both of us. Olive knows I'm here for her. Always. I see the way this Justin asshole is looking at her before he takes off. He might be the head trainer, but he's officially on my watch list. Olive seems completely unaware that this creep was inappropriate with her. He's supposed to be her boss. I drop a hand on her shoulder, needing to feel a connection with her, even if it's sort of painful knowing it can't be anything more than a reassuring touch. As I start to calm down, I realize what has me so freaked out right now. Liv, have you been drinking? She bites her bottom lip, that plump, red lip I've been fantasizing about sucking, and I know it's true. You never do that. Want to tell me what the hell happened tonight? Liv puts her hand in the pockets of her jeans and shrugs.
We were celebrating. We got the training room set up early, all the restocking done, and the whole staff went to the Dark Horse. I did a shot.
I start shaking my head. This whole thing feels off, and it's late as hell.
Look,
She says.
it's late. I have class in the morning. I'm so sorry I worried you, Bax, but I need to go to bed.
There's no way I'm leaving Olive alone after all this. She's a small girl, and she's not used to alcohol. Who even knows how big a shot Justin pushed on her? You're staying with me tonight, I tell her, grabbing her hand and tugging her toward my building. She drops her mouth open to say something, and I stop walking. Olive. My heart is still racing. I close my eyes. Get it together, Morgan. Come stay with me so I can make sure you're okay when you wake up. Her brown eyes are huge in the streetlight. She bites her lip. Please. We've had sleepovers before. We slept together in that hammock for years. This is nothing new. Okay, so I'm usually on the couch these days. But I'm not even thinking of Olive that way. Not tonight. Tonight, I just need to make sure she's safe. She nods and I hug her close, walking her towards my place. When I unlock the front door, the guys have all gone to bed. Shit, it's really late. We have to be in the weight room in a few hours. I'm going to be wrecked in the morning. Come on. I nod my head toward my room. I hang Olive's backpack on the hook in my closet and rummage in my drawer for a pair of sweats for her. These will be huge, but they're comfortable as hell. She shakes her head and sighs, but ducks into the bathroom to change. I strip down to my boxers and t-shirt and climb into bed, waiting for her to slide in next to me. When she climbs in bed, she scoots all the way to the far edge of the mattress, like I'm going to let her sleep all the way over there. My breath catches in my throat as I pull her in close. She smells so fucking good, like leaves and fresh air and my deodorant. We shared for a while when we first went away to school. Olive told me she liked the smell of it, and mine worked better than women's deodorant. I take her word for it. I like that she walks around smelling like me. Maybe it sends a signal to other dudes to keep their hands off. I rest my chin on her shoulder and feel her body begin to relax.
I'm so sorry I worried you, Bax.
She whispers.
I got caught up. Maybe I'll just set my phone to Do Not Disturb next time. If you call, it would come through since you're my favorite.
It's been a long joke between us that while I've got my coaching staff and my advisor saved as favorites in my phone, Olive has only me. I like being her favorite. That's a good idea, I tell her, giving her soft body a squeeze. God, she feels good. But I need to control myself. This is Olive, not some random girl I take home to meet my primal needs. She rolls to face me, and we fall asleep curled together. I'm ripped from my recurring nightmare, the dream where I plead with my mother to stay with us, with me, after my brother died. It's still dark in my room, though, and it takes me a minute to figure out what woke me up. It's Olive, and she's moaning. I take a few breaths to let my heart rate slow down and observe what's happening here. She seems to be rocking and groaning in her sleep. Maybe she's having a nightmare too. But then, as my eyes adjust to the dark, I look at her. Her shirt has ridden up and I see the creamy white skin of her soft belly. I see her hips rocking in her sleep.
Oh,
She says in her sleep,
yes, Bax.
"Fuck me. Olive Hampton is dreaming about me. Not a nightmare. That kind of dream." My dick jumps to attention, and I have no idea what to do. Every cell in my body is screaming at me to pull her close. Let her grind those hips against me until the friction gives us both what it seems we need right now. Shit, I mutter. This isn't right. I feel like I have invaded some privacy screen. Olive can't help what she dreams. She'd probably be horrified if she even found out. But I can't fall asleep again, not with my cock standing stiff against my stomach, and Olive moaning and withering like this. I slip out of bed and go out to the couch. It seems like a few minutes later when Scotty shouts in my face, "Morgan, we gotta go!" I groan because I barely slept a single second. My God, now I know what Olive's face looks like when she's about to come. The urge to dive in there and finish the job, take her over the edge, and have her screaming my name. Fuck. But Scotty is standing over me in the living room. "Give me a minute, okay?" He nods and heads off down the hall. I head into the room where Olive is asleep in my bed. I murmur against her ear, "I have to go to the weight room. Let yourself out whenever, okay, Liv?" She nods and pulls the covers up to her nose. I plant a kiss on the top of her head and meet Scotty in the hall.
I thought it wasn't like that with you guys,
he says, offering me a granola bar. I snatch it and tear into it, shaking my head. "It's not," I state empathetically, hating that it's true. I'm starting to wonder how long I can last this way.
Chapter 5. Olive. I stay in Baxter's bed for another hour or so, but I can't sleep. I'm enveloped in his scent, remembering the rush of his breath on my cheek as he whispered in my ear. And then I had to go and dream about him. Those dreams are the worst, because I wake from them wanting, so hungry for his touch, knowing I cannot have it. Baxter is so clear that he's got just one focus, making it to the pros so he can move on with his life. He won't make time for a relationship. He says so repeatedly when he calls me after screwing some nameless fangirl. When he grabs me for lunch in the athletics dining hall. Over and over he repeats, "No relationships, no complications. Train, lift, watch film, and smile for the cameras." The arms he drapes around my shoulders on the way into social events are brotherly for him. He makes this clear all the time, and besides, as soon as we get anywhere, he immediately finds a conquest, disappears with a woman. He usually dispatches a freshman from the team to walk me home. I sigh, neatly folding Baxter's sweatpants and setting them on the foot of his bed. His room is sparse and tidy. He has almost nothing personal in here, except 2 framed photographs. One of him and his brother Brody, taken shortly before Brody died. I smile at the picture and shoot back a text. "Love that pic of you and Brody. Thinking of him today." Sometimes I wonder what our relationship would be like if Baxter's brother hadn't died and Baxter's mom hadn't taken off. Overcome by grief, she withdrew until she couldn't bear living in their house another second. I don't think Bax has heard from his mom in years. What if he'd had 2 allies at home? Maybe then, I don't know. I guess it doesn't do any good to think about what if. The other picture on his dresser is of the 2 of us. It's from prom night. He went with the cheerleader, of course, and I went with a group of kids from my English class. but he pulled me in for one slow dance and someone took a pic. I remember the feel of my palm on his chest, my other squeezed tightly in his hand, the light pressure of his fingers on my lower back. I rested my head on his chest as the live band played Into the Mystic, and I thought maybe, just maybe, I could feel him arouse through the layers of his tux.
"Dance with me, Livy," he'd said. "Just this one time."
As if I'd turn him down. The other girls in my dorm room have their doors open as I slink back in to change. I see them standing at their mirrors with curling irons, talking to each other as they eat yogurt at their desks. I smile at the two girls who live across the hall and offer a small wave. One of them, Elise I think her name is, wags her eyebrows at me, noticing me coming in at this time of day. I don't have time to correct her misconception, so I dash into my room and quickly change. When my classes are done for the morning, I head to the athletic building. The football team has their own training room, but it's across the hall from the facilities used by all the other athletes at SCU. This lets Justin shift the staff around easily, depending on which sports are hurting the most. And today, evidently, it's the swimmers who are hurting. Football practice is just starting, so we won't see any acute injuries from collisions for a little while. Justin waves me over to a table where he's stretching out a lanky swimmer lying face down. The swimmer groans and clutches at his back. "Olive," Justin says, a cool look in his eye. "I assume you made it safely through the night." I bite my lip and nod, then gesture toward the swimmer. "What's up with this guy?" He pauses and motions for me to step in. "What do you think?" I squat down to make eye contact with the swimmer while Justin observes. "Hey," I say to him. "I'm Olive." I place a hand on his lower back. His skin feels warm. He groans again. "What's your name, dude?" "Tim," he hisses. "My back is killing me. Jesus." I ask him to roll onto his side, thinking that might ease some of the pressure he's feeling, and his breathing calms. "Is it okay if I check you over, Tim? You'll feel my touch on your legs, okay?" He nods, his eyes closed. His hamstrings are tightly coiled. I tell him we're going to work on some gentle stretches to loosen him up, and then I fall into the trance that always comes over me when I get to work with an athlete. I breathe along with Tim, moving his legs, stretching his tight muscles. Sometime later, I've got one of his legs pressed against my shoulder, and he's talking easily. "I broke my own personal record, at least," he says, gritting his teeth as I try to loosen up his long leg. Evidently, he pushed himself doing the butterfly. One mistimed kick started off a spasm that wouldn't quit. "Does it feel better now?" I ask while I help him into a sitting position. I hear a cough and I jolt, remembering that Justin has been here observing. I just handled Tim's entire case, didn't even ask for permission or advice. Justin stands with his arms crossed, frowning. "You seem like you've got things under control here, Hampton. What are you thinking next?" I prod Tim to roll onto his stomach. "I'm thinking ice and stem." Tim groans as Justin hands me the equipment to hook up to Tim's back so we can send gentle electrical pulses to contract and release Tim's muscles. His mood lightens. Justin pats me on the shoulder and walks off to take care of the other athletes who need help. I get Tim connected to the unit and walk off to prepare some bags of ice for him. He sighs as the pressure increases. Most of the athletes say it hurts so good. Once I get Tim situated and on a timer, Justin summons me into his office. "You did really well today," he tells me. "Thank you." I keep waiting for him to say "but," since I know I overstepped with Tim. I'm just an undergrad work study. I start shifting my weight. The football team will be here any minute, and Bax likes me to stretch him out, even though I'm not supposed to do that either. Justin doesn't look up from his notes, his pen flying along the page. I'm assigning you to swim this semester. Swim? Justin, I thought you'll be with Tim and his lanky friends, and you'll get real hands-on work assessing injuries and carrying out treatment. The football team won't allow you nearly this level of access as an undergrad. I bite my lip. He's right, of course. I'm allowed to touch backs, of course, but the football players are too valuable. A misstep could be devastating to the program if a player got injured. But Bax is a pretty big diva when it comes to me being there for him, and that's a big deal too. Does Coach Burns know? Justin again doesn't look up. Just let me worry about that, Olive. Why don't you go finish up with Tim? I step out of his office and reach for my phone to turn it on and at least give Bax a heads up. But Justin shouts, Tim needs to come off the stem, Olive. Now. Chapter 6. Bax.
Practice was fucking brutal today. I'm definitely feeling my lack of sleep after a full session in the weight room and tackle drills on the turf. I can't wait to get stretched out and sink into an ice bath. Scotty and Finnegan and I walk into the training room, stripping off our shirts like we own the place. Because, let's face it, we do. We're bringing this school millions of dollars in TV coverage and ticket sales. So do I act like a bit of a princess insisting that I have Olive with me when I need her? Yeah, I fucking do. And so you can imagine how I feel when I look across the hall and see her leaning over some skinny dude wearing only shorts. Easy, buddy, Scotty says, putting a hand on my shoulder when he sees me bunching my hands into fists. Slim Jim is talking up a storm to Olive as she runs her hands up his back, disconnecting electrodes. I feel a sudden urge to barge over there and hook them up to his nutsack. Olive, what's going on? I climb up on my usual table and sit, waiting for her to come over with the foam roller. She looks across the hall at me and bites her lip.
Justin has me on rotation with the swim team,
she says, nodding her head towards Slim Jim. Thank God, the asshole says from the table, groaning in relief as she pulls off the last sticker. That motherfucker doesn't even have any hair on his damn legs. Like hell you're working with the swim team, I grunt. Another trainer comes over to me, some girl with dark hair and a beauty mark.
Hey, Baxter,
she says like she knows me.
I'm going to roll you out today, okay?
No. I'm shouting now, and everyone in the room turns to look. Olive always works with me. Olive flushes as Justin steps out of the office. I know what this is about. I cock-blocked that squirmy jerk, and he's pulling a power play. I am very familiar with men who like to pull shit like this when they feel threatened. Is there a problem here, Mr. Morgan? He walks up to the table and stands with his arms crossed, like he's not half my size. Yeah, you can't switch trainers on me. I'm not going to be polite. I know what I'm worth in this program. Get Coach Burns in here. I'm not going to fuck around with this guy's power trip. I'm going right for the big guns. But Justin leans forward and gets in my face. I could do that, he says. Or you could be reasonable. Working with the swim team will allow Olive the real hands-on experience she needs to get accepted into a graduate athletic training program. With funding, he adds and glares at me. Do you really want to deny her that opportunity so she can rub a foam roller on your legs every afternoon? Son of a bitch. I hate this fucking guy. I can't think right now, so I flop on my stomach and glare at him while what's-her-name gets working on my back. "Hey," Scotty says to me from where he's sprawled on the table next to me, getting worked on by another trainer. "Be happy for Olive. This is a good opportunity for her, right?" I don't say anything. On the surface, this looks like a win for her. But I'm uneasy because I know what I saw last night. I don't know what Justin's game is here, but I don't fucking like it. Plus, now I have to figure out how to make it clear to the swim team that my girl is off limits. This year was supposed to be easy for me outside of football. Lift hard, hit hard, run hard. The rest is supposed to be cake. I just have to make it through the draft combine this spring with no drama. I sigh and try to relax, except Beauty Mark goes a little rough on my hamstrings. After I get stretched out and given the green light, I catch Olive's eye. She waves at me while she's checking out someone's arm. I hate how much she has to have her hands on all these shirtless dudes. They're not stupid. They know Olive is hot as hell, even if she has no idea. She's all blonde waves and soft curves. Curves that no guy here, including me, should fantasize over. Olive doesn't need me destroying her dreams. I'm not the only one with goals. She left her parents behind to drink themselves to death and hasn't looked back. She's applying to the best graduate programs in the country, and she's always talking about what experiences she needs to look good for earning funding. But fuck if I'm going to be functional right now. I'm too worked up. "Scotty," I shout over the noise in the locker room. "I need to get laid." "Yeah, man, you fucking do." Scotty claps me on the back, and we head to the bars. I need to clear my head, or I'm going to burst. Or hit someone. I try not to think about Olive's confused face as I blew out of the training room. I know she heard me say that I'm on the prowl. I'll check in with her tomorrow, and everything will make sense again. Finnegan and JT are already at the bar when Scotty and I roll in. The guys from the team are sprawled around a table near the bar, and word has gotten out that the SCU football team is in the house. The place is packed, and it seems like everyone is trying to come up to us. With his injury, JT has attracted double the number of jersey chasers, looking to nurse his wounds. In no time, I've got a drink in my hand and a girl on my lap. Some redhead in little shorts who wriggles around too much. I wouldn't even need to try to get her to go with me into the bathroom. It's what I usually do. It's what I came here for. But something just feels off. I don't know if it's because I didn't get enough sleep last night, or if I'm just pissed that Olive will be with the swim team this season instead of with me where she belongs. With me, I don't even let myself think about her that way. "Hey, sweetheart," I say to the girl on my lap. "Can I get you to shift over to a seat? I think I really hurt my leg today at practice." She doesn't get the hint. She coos up at me and starts trying to massage my leg with her tiny hands, poking at my thigh. I excuse myself to use the restroom, and as I'm coming back to the table, I see she has moved on to someone else. I sigh in relief, and then feel an overwhelming urge to get the hell out of here. Something must be really wrong with me if I don't even want to stick around here. I catch Finnegan's eye and tilt my head toward the door. He nods and I head home. Hopefully, this weird mood I'm in is all due to me being tired. I climb into bed in my clothes, and only then do I realize I never texted Olive tonight to check on her.
Chapter 7. Olive. I come home from my shift and turn on the TV, waiting for a text from Bax that he's coming over for a snack. I need to talk to him, see if we can figure out the best thing to do about the training room. On the one hand, Justin is totally right. This experience training the swimmers is going to be amazing for me. On the other, I can tell that blindsiding Bax and pulling me to a different team with no notice once the semester has already begun is off. I think back to the other night at the bar, and I feel uneasy. I wish Bax were here so we could talk about it. When he has food and a couch, he can usually stay calm and help me talk rationally about my problems. Of course, my problems don't usually affect him like this one does. Can you come over? I hate feeling clingy and texting Bax like this, but I also really need to talk this through with him. I wait an entire episode of Real Housewives and my message is still unread. I sigh. I need to talk to someone about this or I'm going to go insane. I bite my lip. I'm not really friends with anyone other than Baxter. I talk sometimes with Julia and the other trainers, but I don't have any girlfriends. It's not that late, so I decide to crack open my door and see if the girls across the hall are home. Feeling like a creeper, I peer into the crack and I see that their door is open and they're watching TV. I back up and rummage in my closet for a jar of animal crackers and then knock on their door frame. Tia and Elise look up and their faces brighten. "Hey, neighbor," they say. "What's up?" I hold out the jar of cookies. "I brought sustenance. Is it okay if I hang out?" Tia nods enthusiastically, reaching for the animal crackers. Cramming a few in her mouth, she pauses the show and asks, "What's up? You don't usually hang." I swallow. "Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I guess I'm shy about talking to people I don't know very well." "You're with Baxter Morgan from the football team, right?" Elise raises a brow and looks at me skeptically. I shake my head vigorously. "Oh," I say. "No, Baxter and I grew up together. We're just friends." Elise rolls her eyes, but I insist. "I'm serious. He's out picking up girls right now. We went through a lot together growing up, that's all." "I've got friends from home like that," Tia says. "It's good to have someone who knows your whole backstory." "Well," I say, "I was actually hoping I could maybe ask you for your input about something, since you two don't know anything about my backstory." Elise's face lights up. "Is this about hunky football bodies? 'Cause I'm here for that." That gets a laugh out of me. I explained to the girls that my boss acted sort of weird at the bar, got yelled at by Baxter, and then switched me to another sports team with no notice. They both look puzzled. "So you're not doing it with Morgan?" "I've never done it with anyone." I just blurted all out then. How Baxter intervened in high school any time a boy showed interest in me. How I haven't made time to date anyone in college because I need to keep my scholarship. How very desperate I am to find funding for a graduate program. When I pause to catch a breath, Tia puts her arm around my shoulders. "Whew, girl, that's a lot," she says. "Let's start with work. It's creepy. That shit with your boss is creepy." Elise nods. "Super creepy." I feel a wave of relief hearing them confirm that Justin's behavior was indeed weird. They agree that nothing has actually happened yet, but that I should remain on alert. "Are you ever alone with him?" Elise seems as concerned as Baxter when she asks. "Don't let yourself be alone with him. Call us if anything else weird happens." It's weird, right? I've been shadowing the football staff the whole time I've been at SCU. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm so glad for the opportunity to do some real recovery stuff with the swim team. But it's sudden, right? So sudden. Tia hands me a chocolate bar from her desk drawer, and I nibble on the end. I want to protest, tell them I don't want to bother them with a phone call, and say they should keep their emergency chocolate. but it feels so good to just open up to people. While I eat the chocolate, Elise tells me about a guy from her class that she's been lusting after for years. "The key for me getting in his pants is going to be whiskey," she says. "I'm bringing whiskey when we study for midterms." Tia laughs and points out that Elise has been wearing tight tanks and leggings when she studies with this guy, no matter how cold it is outside. "She's not been subtle about anything," she says. As they talk about her plans to bag the boys, I get lost in my swirling thoughts again. I keep thinking about Tim, the swimmer, how I had my hands all over his body. I could see absolutely everything outlined in his shorts, and yet I had no reaction whatsoever. He was just a person in pain, and all I could focus on was trying to make him feel better. When I'm rolling backs out after practice or a game, I'm not nearly that professional. Baxter Morgan is a hulking beast of a human, 6'2", 200 pounds of solid muscle. Everything about him is huge, from his size 14 feet to his hands that are bigger than my entire face. When he lies on his back in his mesh shorts, I can see the outline of all his parts too, and I don't look away. No, I objectify my best friend and stare at his junk, longing to touch it. I relate to Elise when she talks about dropping pencils just so she can brush against her crush's leg. I glance at my phone and see that Bax still hasn't even read my text message, which means he's out with a random girl. Tia sees me pouting at my phone and snaps her fingers. "Hey, spill it. What's making you upset right now?" I show her the phone. Bax hasn't even read my text message, and that usually means he's banging some Jersey chaser. And I don't care. I'm serious. Don't look at me that way. Elise has one eyebrow raised so high it disappears into her hair. It's just, maybe I want to be someone's casual fuck too. I mean, it must feel good or he wouldn't keep doing it over and over again. "Oh, this is good," Elise says. "Yes, we can get Olive laid. Tia, who can she bang?" "Why not one of these athletes she's always touching?" Tia looks dreamily at her poster of the SCU hockey team. All those muscles. We talk for a while about what makes for a good first time. Honestly, at this point, I think I just need to get it over with. Maybe if I weren't full of pent-up sexual energy, I wouldn't find myself thinking inappropriate thoughts about my best friend. It could be so simple. Just wear tight tank tops and drop a pencil, wink at someone in my econ lecture. What if I just need to uncork this sexual dam, and I can go back to just being friends with Bax? Tia tells me she's got an early class, and I take the hint and head back across the hallway after hugging the girls goodnight. I regret that I didn't reach out to them earlier to make friends, but they insist we eat dinner tomorrow in the dining hall, and I'm excited about that. The feeling doesn't last long once I'm alone, however. I turn off my lights and climb up in my bunk, hoping I can get some sleep, but in the dark, all I can think about is Baxter's breath syncing with mine, his face an inch from mine in his bed. All I would have had to do was lean in an inch, and my lifelong fantasy could have been realized. I pull out my phone and start scrolling through my pictures. They're all of him, of us together. Me in his jersey with my arm around his waist while he's in full SCU uniform. Him holding up my scholarship letter, pointing and grinning from ear to ear. No wonder Tia and Elise keep asking me if we were together. It's written plain and clear on my face how badly I want him. But it can't happen. I know that. But I also think about the other night when he held me close in his bed, curled against the warm heat of his rock-solid body. I feel an unrelenting throb in my center, and I know there won't be any sleep until I ease that ache. I reach down, sliding my hand under the waist of my panties, and I start to rub slow circles against my core. I think about Baxter, about the heat in his eyes tonight in the training room. I imagine my hands on his back, on the smooth skin covering solid muscle. What would it feel like to trail my tongue along his hard lines? It doesn't take long before I'm gasping, panting, plummeting over the edge of pleasure. And then, as fast as it began, it's over, and I'm alone in my room, somehow feeling ashamed about my entire day. Chapter 8. Olive. Bax doesn't call, doesn't return my text, and I don't see him the entire next day. It feels so off to me, so foreign. I feel hurt about it, because I know he's upset that Justin moved me to the swim team. But it all just feels worse because I can't even see Bax to talk about it. I run into Julia and Gabe in the training room when I arrive after class. They're both in their final year in the doctoral program for athletic training at SCU, and I know Julia is eager to land a full-time university position. I try to feel her out and talk about what happened with Justin, but she seems tight-lipped and quiet when I bring it up. Instead, she launches into a story about a gymnast with basically a compound fracture in her leg. Girl wanted to continue her vault work. I was like, no. Let's get you scheduled for surgery. Gabe smiles, and when I see him lean in to drop a kiss on her temple, I know that my hunch from the other night is correct. I wonder if they'll get positions at the same university someday. Will they have to live in separate cities so they can each pursue their careers? It doesn't take long until I start fretting about where I'll go to grad school, how far that will be from where Bax gets drafted. I'm lost in my thoughts about them when I see Justin come in and tape up the schedule for the training room team for the rest of the week. Wait, I say, looking at my name on the chart. Saturday morning meet? Justin's eyes narrow. Is there a problem with that, Miss Hampton? I thought you'd jump at the chance to prepare these athletes for competition, hands-on. I bite my lip. He knows I always go to the SCU home games and sit in the family section to support Baxter. Is Justin right, though? Should I be focused on my own career? After all, Baxter will play his best, whether I'm there the whole time or not. I look at the schedule again and decide that if I hustle after the meet, I can make it to the stadium before halftime. No problem, I say. I was just surprised is all. Good, Justin says, and there is no mistaking the sharpness in his tone. Across the hall, I see the new quarterback talking with Tim, my injured swimmer. It's unusual for these particular sports to intermingle, but before I can think too hard about it, Tim saunters into the room, pulling off his shirt. I'm ready for my daily torture, he tells me, grinning. Hook me up to the juice. I laugh at his description of the treatment, but get him situated on the training table while Julia checks out the notes on his chart. This is all really good work, Olive, Julia tells me. She looks down at Tim on the table. You should be competing this weekend, no sweat. He grins and tries to pump his fist without tangling the wires on his back. Well, he says, I hope I'm sweating from working hard. I finish up his treatment, get him all set with the ice and stretches, and I can't help but smile because I know that I really have been helping him. It feels good to have so much impact on someone's recovery. Through it all, though, I can't help but feel uneasy. At dinner, I sit with Tia and Elise and listen to them talk about their plans for after graduation. They're going to rent an apartment together in the city, hoping they'll have jobs lined up by May. I can always wait tables again, Tia says, telling us about how she worked in a diner growing up. Speaking of, she says, If you really want to get laid, you just need to waltz into a diner on a Friday wearing tight jeans. Tia shrugs. The after-bar crowd will be more than happy to cream your donut. Ugh, gross, girl. Elise throws a fry at her roommate. You can't get a drunken dinner dude for your first time, especially when you're trying to fuck a crush out of your system. She gestures at me with another fry. Don't even try to tell me he's not a crush. You're totally smitten, and I think it's ridiculous that you don't just open up about it. I open my mouth to argue, to tell her that theory is ludicrous, but Tia nods. She says, I actually think this plan is better than the bang a stranger to get it over with idea. She and Elise launch into a detailed theory about how we could rock friends with benefits, or even just burn out in a blaze of orgasms leading up to graduation and the pro football draft. Then, Elise says, he'll go off to Buffalo or wherever the hell, and you'll get a full ride to Berkeley and the distance will be a buffer. I see the merits in what they are saying, but the idea of losing touch with Baxter horrifies me. It's not just about physical proximity. He calms me, supports me, grounds me, is my barometer when I'm afraid or upset. No, I tell them, I can't cross that line with Bax. They look at me, a bit sad, and we finish our meal in silence. Chapter 9. Bax.
This is probably the longest I've gone without speaking to Olive in 12 years. I saw that she texted me the other night, but I don't feel like opening it. I have to get my head on straight. A redhead on my lap at the bar didn't help. Neither did sprinting on the track the next day or tackle practice this afternoon. It's Friday, and the team is quarantined to a hotel before our game. Team bonding is Coach Burns' reasoning, but really, he's just holding us here so we don't get our asses in trouble. He's been around for a while. He knows what a bunch of athletes in their 20s would rather be doing on a Friday night in a town where we're revered as gods. Poor guy doesn't know that half the undergrads covet internships at this hotel so they can bag a football player during fall semester. Most guys on the team have gotten a blowy in the hot tub. So this would probably be at least entertaining, if not tolerable, except that coach has me bunked up with Kevin Pence, the transfer QB who's starting for us this weekend, since JT has a fucked up hand. Smarmy dude spent half the evening in the supply closet, and he's climbing out of the shower now like he wants to tell me all about what went on in there. I don't give a shit, though, and I'm in a pissy mood. Will you quit making that face like you're so damn pleased with yourself? He raises an eyebrow at me. Well, what's your problem, Morgan? I snort. You, man. I don't know you, and you don't know me, and neither of us is going to be here long enough for that to matter. Dude, he says, we've got a whole season to go. You want to tell me anything specific? He flops onto his back on the bed and stares at me. I roll my eyes and turn off the light, punching my pillows. Just quit staring at Olive. The girl from the training room? She's your girl? Is that what this is about? Look, man. She's off fucking limits. I grunt, pissed that nobody made this clear to him. Pissed that he can't take a hint. Just pissed. I saw him smile at her the other day, and that pissed me off more. You done yelling? Yeah, if you're done looking where you shouldn't be. Kevin turns the light back on and I squint, rolling over halfway to look at him. Dude, I was not staring at Olive. Morgan, don't you know that I'm gay? I just blink at him a few times. What the fuck is he even talking about? I like cock. You don't have to worry about me getting between you and your dream girl, Morgan. And before you tell me again that she's your best friend, I think we both know it's more than that for you." "Well, this is unexpected. But I saw you staring at her." "Did you?" he asks, turning the light out again and punching his own pillows. "Or did you see me staring past her at the shirtless swimmer she was stretching?" "Shit. You're seriously gay. This has me all sorts of messed up. I'm a good judge of people. That's basically all I've got going for me, apart from my ability to tackle the shit out of running backs. You don't grow up in a house with a maniac and not learn how to read a room. Sometimes that was the only way I avoided getting my ass kicked. I was 1,000% certain this guy had the hots for Olive. Super gay. Like, just had a cock in my mouth, gay. Come on, man. Hey, you asked. Now, you want to tell me what's going on with you and Olive?" I shrug in the dark, like he can see me. "I told you, she's my best friend. It's not like that with her." I hear a bag rustle, and I realize this asshole is eating chips in bed while he's talking to me. "Could have fooled me," he says. "I know I'm new around here, but a blind man could see that you want her." "Yeah, well, that's not going to ever happen. I need her as a friend more than I need to get my rocks off." He keeps eating the damn potato chips while I think about all the times I thought he'd been staring at Olive's tits in the training room. She's always stretching someone out. We're all wound up tighter than twine on a pork loin. "I'm not sure it's any better that you're checking out the other guys on our team," I tell him. I hear him crumple the chip bag and toss it in the trash can. "You think I'm the only gay football player at SCU? You really don't know your team very well, Morgan." This guy is fucking with my head. Is Kevin right? Have I been misreading my teammates for years? This is the most unsettling conversation I've had in a long time. I don't like it one bit. I don't answer him, but I also can't sleep, running through a list of my teammates, trying to figure out who I actually know. Eventually, Kevin says, "Not everyone feels safe admitting it, though. Some guys are good at trying to hide who they really are." That gets me thinking about my fucking father, master of hiding his true self. I mean, it's sort of the opposite. My father hides that he is a monster, and Kevin's saying my teammates are afraid of monsters. Everyone in my hometown thinks Dad's some upstanding citizen, turning all the boys of Fulton football into men, a loving mentor, all of it an act. My father would come home and spit venom, complaining about everyone and everything in his life, detailing how thoroughly everyone was standing in his way, most especially me and Brody. I honestly think that's how Olive got her start as a trainer. She'd look after me when he'd twist my arm behind my back for missing a spot washing the dishes. She figured out how to massage my head if he slammed it off the dining room table. Brody never had anyone like Olive to look after him. Sounds like Kevin knows a thing or two about that experience himself. I don't like thinking about my brother the night before a game. I roll around for a while, trying to forget everything that Kevin said, too. Eventually, I hear him snoring, and I cram a pillow over my head. I fall asleep thinking about Olive's touch on my skin, and how much I missed that feeling in the training room this week.
Chapter 10. Olive. Football Saturdays have always had a special rhythm. Usually, I wake up early and head into the training room, get everything set up to tape ankles and wrap wrists. The linemen always come in first, needing more attention than everyone else. And I give Bax a pep talk, assure him I'll be watching from the stands, wearing his jersey. I kiss his forehead each week for luck. So today, when I'm in the natatorium all morning stretching out swimmers, I just feel off. Tim was in early for some more treatments for his back. He's not going to let anything like muscle spasms prevent him from competing. I've been around athletes long enough to know they don't sit out until their coach screams in their face. Nobody seems to mind that I, an undergrad assistant, step in to work out Tim's hamstrings and hook him up to the TENS unit. Justin is over with the football players for game prep, so the mood in the training room is pretty light while I go about my business. Tim is doing much better after a few days of lighter training and heavier stretches. He is even chatty, telling me about his internship from last summer in New York City. He grits his teeth as I lean into his leg, trying to get some more stretch from his thighs. "Yeah," he says. "The hours were insane at the bank, but I was staying with my cousin, and he has a pool in his building, so I could still get in off-season workouts." "That's good that you can be that disciplined on your own," I tell him, gesturing for him to roll to his stomach. I crank back his hairless shin to stretch his quads, marveling again that I can be so close to an objectively beautiful body and feel nothing sexual. Not even a flutter in my belly. I get him race ready and stare at the clock. 1 more hour of my shift. I'll miss the first quarter of the football game. I head into the office to make notes, update Tim's chart, trying to be ready to leave as soon as possible. There's a grad student trainer in here working on charts too. She looks at me questioningly as I sit at the big table we all share. "Justin reassigned me the other day," I tell her. "I was on football before." I shrug. "This is a big shift," she says. "Anyway, I'm Emily." She holds out a hand and I shake it. "Olive," I tell her. "Pleased to meet you." We sit next to each other working for a while, and then she stops and stares at me. "I know who you are," she says. "Julia was telling me. You're the undergrad wonder kid." "Wonder kid?" Emily tells me how Julia was bragging about me to the other grad students in the program. I blush, embarrassed, but Emily grins. "I'm glad to see you get more hands-on experience with the swimmers. This will be good for you." She shows me her folder. Emily's doing her PhD research on knee ligament tears. She's been trying to get moved back to soccer or a sport with more impact, since the swimmers don't really damage their knees all that often. Turns out, Justin has been shifting a lot of people around this semester. So who got sent to fill my spot at football? Why not you? Emily shrugs and looks over my shoulder, like she's searching for someone. Honestly, I wasn't willing to kiss Justin's ass, so he sent me here as punishment. What? That's insane. Emily shrugs. It's just a thing he does. He's on such a power trip. None of the higher-ups give a shit because the athletes are all fine. It's just that none of us can really finish our research easily, since we don't get the right cases for our focus. I spend the rest of my shift thinking about Emily's words, wondering what comes next. As soon as my time's up, I hurry to grab my things, wanting to get to the stadium as quickly as I can. Emily shouts out, "You want to come to the Dark Horse? A bunch of us are going to watch the game on the TV there," she says. "Oh," I pause. I look down at my Morgan jersey. It's not one like fans can buy in the gift shop. This is one of Baxter's actual practice jerseys. A lot of the players give these to their girlfriends. He says he just likes knowing he's got a friendly face in the family section. "I actually have to get to the stadium. I have tickets." Emily nods. "Gotcha. Another time, right?" "Definitely." By the time I get up into the family section, it's midway into the second quarter. Scotty's mom waves me over to my seat and hands me a bag of popcorn. "Olive, there you are. We just weren't sure what on earth happened to you." I explain about getting my assignment switched to swimming. I realize with a jolt that I didn't even check to see if the Otters won the swim meet. I really should be more invested if I'm going to help take care of the team. I start to feel bad until I see Baxter turn around from the bench. Then I feel worse. He's having an off day. Scotty's mom whispers to me. Maryland running back snuck past him for a first down early in the game. I cringe. I know this isn't my fault, but I feel guilty that I wasn't here to show Bax support when he missed a tackle. Bax scans the crowd, looking absolutely miserable, until he finds me. Relief floods his face as I wave and shout, and then his expression quickly fades to irritation. I can tell he's angry that I missed so much of the game. Bax leans down and talks to one of the water carriers, who looks baffled that one of the players is speaking to him. Bax puts an arm on the guy's shoulder, and he nods rapidly and runs off. Soon, the water boy pokes his head into our section, breathless. Miss Hampton. I nod. Baxter just wanted to make sure you'd be in the training room after the game. I swallow. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do that, but if Baxter wants me there, I don't see the harm. I nod and turn my attention back to the game. The SCU defense takes the field to open the second quarter. I watch the snap, the pass, the reception, and the smack as Baxter flies down the field and flattens the wide receiver. Most people have their eyes on the big screen watching the replay, but I'm looking over at Bax. I see that it takes him longer than usual to get up. He's hurting and he's angry. So very angry. But Baxter has been angry for years. Sometimes he thinks he's angry about one thing, but usually he's angry about his dad. He's angry about his brother. He's angry that his mother left. Baxter spends so much time curled up on my couch confessing to me how very, very angry he is. And the only way he seems to express any of that anger is out on the football field. Playing football seems to calm him, give him an outlet to focus his anger. Most of the time. For the rest of the game, I cringe watching him play. His adrenaline must be pounding through his veins as he chases down players who may or may not even have the ball. He slams them all into the ground again and again, getting up with a roar I can hear across the stadium, where the other parents in our section look at me with wide eyes. Over the loudspeaker, the announcer keeps talking about Baxter's stats, and I know he will eventually feel excited that he played so well. Scouts will likely see him today, and this will help his career. But I also know that everything he's doing is in response to feelings stirred up inside. Baxter Morgan is hurting. Chapter 11. Olive. Stone Creek pulls out a win against Maryland, which is a bit of an upset, so the mood in the stadium is ecstatic. Fans are jumping and screaming, hugging and crying. I wind my way through everyone down to the players' entrance to the stadium. The security guards know me by now and wave me through the barricade so I can wait for Bax in the training room. Justin glares at me, and I hesitate as I walk toward him. Bax asked me to be here, I tell him. I'm off the clock, just here for my friend. Justin furrows his brow and looks like he's about to say something when the guys start limping in from the field. This is a restricted area for players and staff only, Justin finally says. The players who are really hurting stop by the training room before they even talk to the media, so they're still peeling themselves out of shoulder pads and helmets. I glance around but don't see anyone I know well. When I don't move, Justin grabs my upper arm, his fingers digging into my skin, and quickly marches me to the hall. Players and staff only, Miss Hampton. You'll do well to remember that. Before I can open my mouth again to protest, I hear the sound of football spikes clacking down the hall. I look over to see Baxter coming slowly.
"Shit, Liv,"
he says, and I can see that he's really in pain. He doesn't even comment that Justin laid his hands on me, and Justin quickly releases my arm as Baxter approaches.
"It'll be okay, Bax. We'll get you fixed up."
I squeeze his hand and he winces. He walks into the room and turns around to see that Justin has blocked my path again.
"Miss Hampton will have to meet you afterward, Morgan."
He practically sneers.
"This space is for athletic team personnel and players only. If you could please let us do our job."
Justin moves to shut the door.
"What the fuck?"
Baxter roars. He tries to lift his arm and then winces and groans. He looks to Justin, pleading.
"Please, man."
Coach Burns walks in the room just then and starts patting his players on the shoulder.
"JT, tell me about your thumb, kiddo."
Coach makes his way around the room, checking everyone out, while I stand hesitating in the doorway, and Justin relents. His nostrils flare as he breathes.
"Fine, she can come in, but she's not assessing. She is here in a moral support capacity."
Bax grabs for my hand.
"Please stay,"
he says again. I nod and stay close. Justin starts poking and prodding while Bax winces, but tells him nothing hurts. Justin rolls his eyes and grabs Baxter's arm. He raises it up and tries to circle it around as Baxter moans. Justin doesn't seem to be reading Baxter's nonverbal cues at all, is just going through the motions of a joint check. He doesn't even look to see Baxter's obvious pain response when he performs certain maneuvers. It's killing me not to jump in, not to say what I suspect has happened. "Hey," I say finally, stepping in between Baxter's legs. I grab his cheeks and pull his face down so his forehead rests against mine. "You have to tell us where it hurts so we can help you." Justin nudges me out of the way.
"Olive, that's enough. Let us do our jobs here. Don't fucking talk to her that way,"
Bax says, jumping up off the table. His chest heaves. "Bax," I say, "it's okay, but you need to tell him what hurts, or he can't fix it."
"I need you to fucking fix it, Liv."
He tries to raise his arm to touch my shoulder, and he can't. I think I know exactly what's wrong, why he can't lift his arm, but before I can speak up, Justin growls that I need to leave the room. This gets Coach Burns' attention, and he whips around.
"What the hell is going on over here, Morgan?" "Coach, I want Olive to check me out,"
he says through gritted teeth.
"Well, then have her check you out. What's all this caterwauling burning holes in my ears?"
I bite my lip and stand to the side while Justin glares at me.
"Olive Hampton no longer interns with the football team, Coach,"
Justin says.
"She is, as you know, an undergrad and has been reassigned to the swim team where she can earn more. I don't give a flying fuck if she's a hot dog vendor."
Coach Burns spits his gum out onto the table next to Bax.
"My players are finely tuned machines. This finely tuned machine has it in his thick skull he wants a specific mechanic. Give him the goddamn mechanic."
Bax grins and with his good arm rubs the hair at the back of his neck. Coach walks away and Justin throws his hands up.
"This is a fucking liability waiting to happen,"
he says. He moves on to another player laid up on a nearby table. I'm not sure what the fallout will be, but I'm sure it's not good. But I can't worry about that now. Baxter is injured. I step in front of him and help him out of his shoulder pads. "Okay, bud," I tell him, placing a gentle hand on his leg. "You're going to be honest with me about what's wrong." Chapter 12. Bax.
"It's my shoulder," I hiss, squeezing my eyes shut. It's my fucking shoulder, Livy.
Okay.
She says, soothing, brushing her hand through my hair and leaving a trail of sparks along my skin. I'm scared, and I know she knows it. I felt something creak when I flattened that Maryland runner. I'm so fucking mad about it, too. My head hasn't been right since last night. I didn't get enough sleep, and I'm all over the place with my thoughts, thinking about what Kevin said. If I don't know my teammates, if I can't read people like I thought, can I read the offense? Can I even fucking do anything? Liv tries to lift my arm, and I groan. It started hurting even worse when her dickhead boss was moving it around.
Bax,
She says, gently moving my arm around.
I'm going to assess your AC joint, okay?
I don't know what the hell that means, but if Olive says I need it, fine. I'm not letting that asshole guy put his hands on me again, though. I can tell you that. By this time, my roommates are done getting checked out and are standing around staring. I growl at them. Take a picture, guys. It'll last longer.
Hey.
Liv says, squeezing my leg. God, that feels good. Her touch almost makes me forget the stinging ache in my shoulder.
Be nice, okay? I think I know what's wrong.
Justin steps away from whatever he was doing and frowns at me. He starts asking me stupid questions I don't feel like answering, and then he tries manipulating my arm. I yank it away from him. I want Olive to do it. I snap. My shoulder is starting to throb.
Hey.
Olive says, resting her palm on my cheek. She never touches me this much. Fuck. She must know something's wrong. I cannot afford to have something really wrong.
How about if Justin and I do it together, okay? I'm right here.
He rolls his eyes and nods, and then resumes trying to lift my arm while Olive keeps her hand threaded with my left hand. She presses her other hand on my leg, and I try to focus on that. I hear Justin talking low with Olive, and she nods. She runs her fingers along my collarbone and then points to the sore spot on my shoulder.
It's right here, right, Bax?
She presses on the spot where my collarbone connects to my shoulder, and I hiss. Justin sends one of the assistant trainers for ice, and his attitude shifts a little, like he's back to being pissed off. Good, that means it's not too serious. I think we've got a sprained AC joint, Morgan, he says. 1 week, no contact. Ice and stem. Some PT. It's not separated or torn. Just looks like you tweaked it when you made a tackle. I nod. What about the pain? He cracks a mechanical grin. Can't handle a little pain? Fuck you, man. Step in my shoes for an hour and we'll talk. This is such bullshit. I look around for Coach, but he's already left the room. Justin rolls his eyes, a fucking gain, and mutters that he'll get the doc in here for a cortisone shot. Motherfucker. Those shots fucking hurt. I usually wind up getting one in my back each season. This sport is so damn painful. Olive must see me shivering because she squeezes my hand. I realize she hasn't let go this whole time.
I'll be right here with you, okay?
I nod. Doc seems to be lining up a few shots of glory. Some of my teammates lie ass up on a table. Some have their knees exposed. None of them get their own personal angel with them, so I try to shut my mouth while they deal with the stick alone. Olive runs her fingers through my hair, soothing me. I know I need her. I need someone who just loves me, who has always loved me. Not even my own mother stuck around when our worlds exploded, but Olive was there. She's always been there. I can't risk losing this by answering some feral need I feel whenever I think about her. I can dip my dick anywhere. Olive knows what an injury-free season means to me to get my chance at the pros. So when she sees me tense up as Doc prepares the needle, she gives me a smile, and I forget everything I just convinced myself about why I need to keep my hands off her. I can't help it. Even with a giant needle headed toward my arm, I've got a raging hard-on.
"Hey, Bax,"
She says.
"don't look at the needle. Just look at me."
I'm not sure which is harder.
"She's right, son,"
Doc says, flicking the syringe.
"Ease up now for me. Come on."
I try to tune him out and look into Olive's eyes. Her face is so beautiful, even when it's etched with concern. Neither of us ever had parents we could turn to with something like this. Something like physical pain or just reassurance. We only had each other. Could I throw caution to the wind and bang Olive Hampton? Probably. But look what I'd be risking to do that. I'm sure we'd have a good time. I always make sure ladies have a good time. But this means so much more to me. I bite my lip as the doctor inserts the needle and squeeze my eyes shut.
"Just breathe, Bax. Breathe with me, and it'll be over soon."
Her breath is cool on my face, and it smells like butterscotch. She must have been eating candy with Scotty's mom, with the guys' families. Someone forgot to tell my dick about Olive being off limits. For the millionth time, I have a fence post in my pants just from thinking about her, and having her hands all over me is not helping at all. I guess it's good I'm still wearing my cup.
"You should be good to go, son,"
Doc says.
I agree with Justin's assessment and treatment plan. I'll get it written up and sent to Coach Burns.
It was Olive, sir. I tell him.
"Come again?"
Olive figured out what was wrong. That Justin fucker brushed it off and... Olive places a finger over my lips, and I stop talking. Doc looks confused and clicks his pen open and closed a few times.
"Want me to make note that Miss Hampton provided valuable insight?"
Just make sure her name gets in there. I tell him. Hey, can I go shower? When I get dismissed, I tell Olive to wait for me in the hall, and I spend a half hour just letting the scalding water roll off my body. The shot is supposed to take a while to be effective, so Doc gave me painkillers.
"Morgan, you coming out with us?"
Scotty and Alex are dressed for the club, with slicked back hair and too much cologne. I should go out. It's my senior year. I should celebrate a W. I think I gotta go sleep this one off, I say. I jacked up my shoulder.
"You need someone to help you get home?"
Scotty looks like he wished he hadn't offered. I shake my head and shut off the tap. Olive is here. They seem relieved. She'll take care of me. She always does.
Chapter 13. Olive. I can tell Bax is really hurting when he finally finds me in the hall. I snagged another bag of ice from the training room while he was showering. "Looks like you have a date with the Roku tonight," I tell him, shaking the bag of ice at him. "Let's get you home." Bax doesn't say much as we walk to his car. I can tell he's really in pain because he lets me drive his beat-up old pickup. "Didn't Doc give you some pain meds? You really should take something," I tell him. He studies me for a minute and fishes a pill bottle from his sweatpants pocket. I hand him my water bottle and he swallows the pills as I'm parking outside his building. "Let's get you comfortable," I tell him. By the time I have Bax on the couch with a bag of ice strapped to his shoulder, he's drowsy and loopy from the pain meds. As he dozes off, I order takeout and perch on the edge of the couch. My timer goes off to remove his ice, and as I'm pulling the plastic from his skin, his eyes fly open. His pupils are dilated, and I know the meds have kicked in.
"Liv," he says, "do you have any idea how fucking beautiful you are?"
I blush. That's awfully nice of you to say, Baxter Morgan. Thank you. I tug the bag of ice free and toss it on the coffee table. Let's get your shirt back on. But he yanks me against his chest with his good arm.
"No,"
He says.
"I want to feel you, Livy."
His speech is slurred, and I know he's not thinking clearly. But God, does it feel nice to have my hands pressed against the warm, muscled expanse of his chest. His good arm is wrapped tightly around my waist, holding me close against him. I wiggle around a bit, not wanting to hurt him, and I realize his muscles aren't the only thing that's hard right now. I can't help myself. I glance down at his sweatpants, where he evidently has a baseball bat stashed in his boxers.
"Want you so bad."
He mutters, and then he thrusts his hips up against me. I flush from the top of my scalp to the tips of my toes. This is everything I fantasized about, except he's messed up on pain meds and has no idea what he's saying. Bex, why don't you let me get up and get you a drink, okay? But he doesn't let me get up. He rolls his hips against my jeans, moaning a little, and when I meet his chocolate eyes, they're molten.
"Always want you."
He says, his tongue thick from the medication. His hand slips from around my waist, and he takes my hand in his, bringing it to the stiff, throbbing erection under his sweats. I suck in my breath. He's so hard, so hot. He presses my hand against his dick and groans with need.
"Olive,"
He says. My breath comes fast and shallow. I can feel my heart beating in my ears. I have no idea what to do, except I know that this can't happen. Not now. Not when he's messed up like this and has no idea what he's even asking me. He lifts his head from the couch and captures my mouth in a gentle kiss, and I feel a moan begin deep within me, escaping into his soft lips as they press against mine hungrily. How many times have I fantasized about kissing Baxter? Oh God, I'm kissing him back now, my tongue searching and roaming over his teeth. This is so wrong, but it feels better than almost anything I've ever done before.
"Delivery."
I hear a knock at the door, and I spring up from Baxter's grasp. My heart is racing, and his head drops back down on the arm of the couch. I open the door and snatch the food bag, thanking the delivery guy, and I set everything on the counter. I stand in the kitchen, catching my breath, smoothing out my hair. He won't remember any of this, I tell myself. This is all the pain meds. Think you can eat, Bax? I stick my head around the corner to the living room, and I see that he's sound asleep on the couch, still shirtless. I pick at the food and put it away, never taking my eyes off him. He doesn't stir. As I stare at his crotch, I notice with mixed emotions that his erection has gone down, too. Eventually, I toss a blanket over him and turn off the television. Not wanting to leave him alone, I decide to crawl in his bed, just so I'm close by if he needs me. I wake up sometime in the middle of the night, and Baxter is in bed with me, his chin nuzzled against my shoulder, his good arm draped around my waist. Chapter 14. Bax.
I wake up with Olive in my bed, like some fucking fantasy come true. She must have brought me home and taken care of me last night. I can't remember anything past the car ride when she told me to take my meds. My shoulder hurts less this morning, more of a dull ache than an acute stabbing pain. I think Doc said I was supposed to come in this morning to start rehab stuff. My stomach grumbles, and I realize I'm fucking starving. Olive starts to stir, so I do what any good friend would do, and I flicker. "Hey," I whisper. "I'm going out for bagels. You want one?" She nods and rolls over. I pat her on the shoulder and close my eyes, fighting back the urge to drop a kiss on the skin of her neck, right behind her ear where I bet it's soft as silk. I dreamt last night that I kissed her, that she wanted to kiss me too. As I slide into my sneakers, I remember the dream, me telling her how much I want her, Olive hesitating, but then returning my kiss and running her tongue along my teeth. I felt so safe, so natural, so happy. Definitely the best damn dream of my life. In the living room, I see the melted bag of ice she must have been putting on my shoulder, and my shoes are neatly arranged by the door. Shit, she must have really taken care of me last night. I owe her a lot more than a bagel. When I get back, she's still asleep, so I write her name on the bag and open the fridge, where I see she has neatly arranged takeout containers from last night, too. What did I even do to deserve this girl? There's no fucking way I'm ever going to have a girlfriend who treats me this well. I sure as shit don't deserve this much kindness, after I run off my mouth the way I do to everyone who gets on my nerves. And that's everyone, except Olive. It's important for me to remember that these fever dreams of grinding my dick against Olive, those have to stay what they are, fantasies. I whisper to her that I'm going to the training room, and she nods. She'll let herself out later, I guess. Hopefully she will get some sleep while I'm out. The dickhead Justin isn't in this morning, thank God. The girl Olive knows, Julia, I think, has me stripped to my shorts in the training room and start out with a deep tissue massage, which is fine by me after a game like yesterday. I'm in my own world, hooked up to the stem, when I feel someone slap my ass. Huh? I turn over to see Kevin grinning, hopping up on the table next to mine.
How's the shoulder, dude?
I grunt in response. He recounts the finer points of our victory yesterday while getting his own massage, and I try to pay attention. Kevin isn't that bad a guy, now that I realize he's not trying to get in Olive's pants. You had a good game at QB, dude, I tell him. But then I turn my attention back to my massage, and I sort of drift off on the table until I feel him kick my leg. What?
I said I wanted to ask you a favor. You got a minute?
I sit up, realizing I'm all done, massage over, free to go. That was one hell of a treatment session. Yeah, I say, grabbing my shirt. I guess I do. He follows me outside, and then that fucker asks me on a date. Wait, what?
I asked if you'd go with me to the banquet next week, just as friends.
You want me to be your date to the Athletic Association donors banquet? He shrugs.
Were you going to take someone else?
I blink at him for a minute. I usually bring Olive with me to that. It's nice seeing her dressed up a little, showing her off. I flush, feeling guilty that I always leave with another girl for dirty sex I never remember after. I'm a pretty terrible date, actually. Why does Olive agree to go with me? Kevin draws back, looking smug.
The way I hear it, Olive's already going with someone else.
I feel my face twist in confusion. What the hell is this guy even talking about? She would have mentioned it if she'd had a date to the banquet. Hell, she's fucking asleep right now in my goddamn bed. It's been like an hour since I saw her last. I drag my hands down my face. I've got to go find her. We already had a lot to talk about, and now this. I gotta go, Kev. Let me know about the banquet, okay? I shoot him a thumbs up as I walk back toward my suite, where I hope like hell Olive is still in my bed waiting for me.
Chapter 15. Olive. I always thought I'd feel elated if I ever kissed Baxter, ever heard him express feelings that matched my own. When I wake up in his bed alone, I just feel empty. Drugged out of his gourd, he told me the words my soul longed to hear. By the light of the day, he's back to his solitary focus in life: football. He can't take time to linger in bed with me, even with an injury. He doesn't even remember what happened last night, just knows that he's hurt and needs to get to the training room so he can be in shape to play by next game. He needs to stay focused to make his dreams come true. Neither of us has the time or spare energy to create a relationship. I know this, and this morning, I feel it more than ever. I slip out of his suite, careful not to wake his roommates, and head home for a quick shower before I'm supposed to be in the training room for the end of the morning swim practice. I don't even have time to process all this or share with Tia and Elise to get their take. I decide I'll visit them later to see what they think, even though I know they both really think my sole focus this year should be having sex with Baxter to see how it shakes out. Emily is in the training room when I arrive, bending one of the swimmers practically in half as she stretches out his long arms. She smiles as I check the roster. Soon enough, Tim lumbers into the room, all lanky muscles and hairless limbs. "How's the back?" He grins. "So much better," he says, stretching his arms above his head. "You've been an awesome help." "Well, that's why they pay me the big bucks," I say, laughing and patting the table. I get started stretching out his legs first, helping him to use the foam roller on his hamstrings. "I've been wanting to ask you something," he says, looking at me from underneath his arm. "What's up?" "Would you want to go with me to the banquet next week? You know, the donor banquet." I freeze. Tim is asking me on a date? I'm always Baxter's date to the banquet. I sit with him during the dinner, smile at his side while he talks to the rich people supporting the athletic programs, and then watch from the sidelines while he leaves with a gymnast or a volleyball player. He always makes sure one of his roommates walks me home, but the evening is generally a mixture of humiliation and sweet torture. I'm close to Baxter in public, but I'm not the one taking him home at the end of the night. All the same, I usually go with Bags, and I know he's probably expecting that I will this year. Though he hasn't asked me yet. What would he think if I agreed to go with Tim? Bax could just as easily take one of his fangirls and save himself having to find me a chaperone later. Would it be fun to go to the banquet with someone actually excited to be there with me? Maybe Tim and I can have fun there together as friends. I shift my weight around, realizing I need to respond to Tim in some way, or he'll think I'm being rude. "Just as friends?" he asks, raising a brow, hopefully at me. "You don't have friends from the team who are dying to go with you?" I tease, stalling. But Tim shakes his head and explains that most people on the swim team are already paired off. He looks around the room. We're the only ones still in here, apart from Emily and the other trainer. "The person I really want to be my date. I can't ask." Well, I certainly know how that feels. "Okay," I tell him. "Just as friends. Maybe we should grab a coffee now that your back is loose. I don't really know much about you, other than you have tight hamstrings." Tim laughs and asks me to wait for him while he changes in the locker room. I see him pull out his phone to fire off a text, and I smile, excited that someone is so excited to go on a date with me. I wander over to Emily. You hear any of that?
She rolls her eyes.
Please, you know I know all the dirt about all these kids. I know exactly who is sleeping with whom on the swim team, soccer team, and lacrosse team, thanks to my knee research. What did Tim mean about not being able to ask the person he really wants to ask to the banquet? Emily doesn't answer right away. She studies my face for a minute and sighs. That's not my story to tell, she says. Go on and get coffee. I'll see you back here tomorrow before they all hit the weight room. I give her a fist bump and meet Tim outside. As we walk to the coffee shop, he tells me a bit more about his plans after graduation. He seems pretty set up to get a job right away in his field, finance. It shouldn't surprise me that he has a whole 5-year plan mapped out. Work, MBA, promotion. All the athletes at SCU have to be disciplined and organized, or they wouldn't be competing at this level. It makes sense that this carries over to other aspects of Tim's life. You don't want to continue your swimming career? I ask. I'm not used to this perspective, since all I've ever heard about from Bax is how football is his means to a different end. Tim shakes his head.
There's no future in swimming, unless you're heading to the Olympics or something. I mean, I'll probably always swim to keep in shape.
We get to the front of the line and Tim orders his coffee black. Oh my God, how can you drink it that way? I pour in 2 sugar packets and enough skim milk that my drink is more like a coffee-flavored milk. He shrugs.
Our nutritionist would spit fire if I started adding sugar to anything.
I say a silent prayer of thanks again that my college funding isn't attached to anything I'm doing with my physical body. Thankfully, I can still stretch out an athlete without a balanced diet. I get quiet then, thinking about how often I had to fend for myself at home, making boxed rice or canned pasta for meals. Anything I could get from the corner store with the change I'd pulled from my dad's pockets. He and Mom never seemed to get around to making grocery trips more than once a month, and they both seemed to drink all their meals. Coffee with all the sugar and milk I wanted, that was always available. My parents drank it strong to get through work each day. I smile at Tim, trying to pound back those unwelcome memories. So tell me who you'd rather ask to the banquet. Tim flushes. He fiddles with his coffee cup.
My family wouldn't approve,
he says, shaking his head.
That's putting it mildly.
Sensing there's more to the story, I try to get Tim to open up by confessing one of my own secrets. My family doesn't approve of anything, anyone, and most especially me being at college. I tell him about the last fight to end all fights, when I needed them to sign the financial aid paperwork after I'd been accepted on a full scholarship to SCU. All that stood in my way was one of their signatures, even though I was 18. That first year, I needed them to sign off because I was still their dependent for tax purposes. Growing up, my parents never noticed that I was quietly excelling in math and science, with special interests in biology. I took all the life science classes my high school had to offer, and thanks to Baxter, got to shadow the athletic trainers who worked with the football team. Everything clicked when I started reading medical journals about sports injuries, about treating injuries and healing bodies. But my parents never understood that world. Their world was limited to physical labor, menial work for low pay. They weren't expecting to have kids, and I threw a wrench in their gears they never quite seemed to dislodge. Tim looks on in shock as I tell him how my parents cut me off for heading a different direction from them. I guess they thought I'd either get into the factory with Dad or get a job answering phones like my mom. I don't know. They eventually signed the papers, with the understanding that if I turned away from their roof to chase these high-Fulton dreams, I shouldn't bother coming back. And I haven't. Gone back, that is. Tim looks horrified.
I can't imagine my life without my family in it,
he says.
They are everything to me.
Well, it sounds like you've imagined it, and it's not something you're willing to let happen. I pat his hand. If they don't know how amazing you are, they're really missing out. He snorts.
Oh, they think I'm amazing, but only because they have no idea who I'd.
He pauses. He picks at the rim of his coffee cup, unfurling the wax cardboard. He leans close and whispers.
They don't know I'm gay.
Chapter 16. Bax.
Olive isn't answering her phone, and when I try to stop by her place later, she's not even home. I hate that she's been moved to another sport for her training room rotations, because now our schedules don't line up at all. Even though I'm on injured reserve, I still have to be at practice, watch game tape, do what I can in the weight room, plus now spend my last free hour of the day getting treatment for my shoulder. I'm getting pretty sick and tired of my schedule not being my own, but I guess that's the life I'm signing up for if I want this for my career. I storm into the athletes' dining hall, and of course, the only seat left is next to Kevin. Fucking QB transfer wants to talk my ear off as usual. What? I say to him. No potato chips today? He shakes his head. That's only for game nights. Helps me focus.
So, are you in for the banquet?
I throw my hands in the air, which tweaks my shoulder and makes me groan. Fuck, man, fine. Whatever. I'm not getting you flowers. Wouldn't want you to. I raise a brow at him. What do you know about Olive going to the banquet with some other guy? This makes him grin. He points his fork at me. I'll tell you if you fess up about why it matters. I told you, Olive's like family. She's all I've got. Kevin twirls the fork.
You know a lot of romantic shit goes down at these banquets. So I hear anyway. Hope Olive can handle it.
I tug at my hair with both hands, trying to calm down. I know that he's just trying to get under my skin, but it's been a long week. He takes a swig of his protein shake and looks at me. Why won't you just say you want to fuck her, man? It's obvious you want to bang the shit out of Olive Hampton. You want to pound her. My fist shoots out into his face before I can even control my arm. Fuck! I scream as the impact jars my injured shoulder. Just shut your fucking mouth, Kevin. Jesus, shut up. The cafeteria is silent as everyone stares at us. Kevin pats my face playfully and punches my good shoulder as he works his jaw open and shut.
We're just screwing around, guys. It's fine.
He says. Everyone else goes back to their meals. So, he says, grinning. I'm just going to go ahead and assume I'm right. It's not like that, man. I fucking love her. The words fall out of my mouth before I can stop to think about it. Before the conscious part of my brain can yell at me to shut up and ignore that impossible scenario. I fucking love her. Kevin leans back in his chair, munching on a chicken breast. So what's the big deal then? Go marry her and put giant babies inside her. I shake my head. I can't do that. I can't risk our friendship. When I say she's all I have, man, she's it. I don't have a family. I don't have parents who support me no matter what. Kevin's social media profile is full of pictures of him with his parents, all decked out in pride shirts. I looked him up online. He's right. I had to be an asshole not to notice he's gay. I meet his eye. No, when. When I mess shit up with Olive romantically, then I won't have her as a friend anymore. You have seen firsthand that I'm a dick. I don't do relationships. I don't know how to be with women. And I'm not going to risk turning Olive away. I can't risk that. I need her. He raises a brow at me.
How do you know you'll fuck it up? You seem okay. I mean, yes, you're an asshole, but the team likes you.
I scoff at him. Trust me, I tell him. I'll fuck it up. All I've ever heard my entire life is what a piece of garbage I am. My father's favorite line is that I couldn't convince my own mother to stick around once her preferred kid died. It's better this way. Kevin chews the rest of his carrots and takes a long drink of his shake. He wipes his mouth with the back of his hand and stares at me. You'd rather go on a friend date with your gay substitute quarterback than tell Olive you love her. I open my mouth to tell him he's an idiot and hasn't listened to anything I said. But he keeps going. You can't even sit and imagine what it would look like if things turned out your way? You're right. I have no idea what your family situation is, man. My family is fucking amazing. They're coming over today just to hang out. But listen. He stands up and throws a crumpled napkin onto my plate. I swat it away and look up at him. She's not all you've got, okay? You've got me. He gestures his elbow toward my roommates, who are currently arguing over an issue of car and driver. And you've got those assholes, too. We're not going anywhere, even if you're a sulky prick. And then he walks out of the cafeteria before I can come up with something snarky to say back to him. Chapter 17. Olive. I'm avoiding Bax, and I know he knows it. I'm not done figuring out how I should respond to what happened after his game. The feelings he drummed up when he told me he loved me, when he kissed me. I know he wasn't conscious, but I haven't been able to let go of my racing heart, of my throbbing ache of need. And frankly, Tim needs me right now. His confession to me in the coffee shop opened a floodgate for him, and he and I spent hours together talking about his fears that his family will reject him, shun him forever. Where my parents' rejection stung, it wasn't unexpected or even unwelcome. It's not like I had a warm and loving embrace to miss, now that I have no relationship with them at all. Tim has nieces and nephews and siblings, and he's absolutely convinced they will reject him if they find out the truth. Baxter is going to lose his damn mind when he finds out I'm going to the banquet with Tim. Bax has always been so protective. I'm not sure if he knows, but his intimidation of every guy in a 20-mile radius meant that I have basically zero experience with guys. A few fumbled kisses at parties. A few stolen dances in dark frat basements where I awkwardly ground against some stranger's hips. That prolonged kiss with Bax the other night was far and away the most action I've had. And one thing became crystal clear. I need more. If I don't get some physical stimulation with a guy, I'm going to combust. So rather than deal with any of the crap going on with me and Bax, I dive into my work in the training room, utterly ignore my best friend, try to console my newest friend, and grow increasingly sexually frustrated. Tia and Elise are, of course, insisting I try to seduce Bax. I sort of snapped at them the last time I saw them. So when I rap on their door later, I try to smooth things over so they'll help me make a plan. Hey, I say, I've come bearing peace offerings from the training room. Anyone want any SCU gear? It's the good stuff. I hold out a box full of extra team polos and the coveted gray SCU sweatpants all the athletes wear. My neighbors gasp and urge me into the room. How did you get all this stuff? Asked Tia. I remind her and Elise that I work in the training room. This is a perk, I guess.
Elise pulls the sweatpants on over her pajama shorts. "These are so soft," she says, cooing. "This is amazing of you to share." She nods at the TV. "Want to watch Outlander with us?" I perch on the edge of Elise's bed and sigh with them as the attractive actors fight off their enemies. "Men in kilts, am I right?" Tia flops back against the bed. I nod in agreement, getting interested when the female lead begins treating a shirtless guy's dislocated shoulder. I've been studying dislocated shoulders for years. We see one or two each season with the football team, not really any with the swimmers. I'm suddenly super interested in this show, but Tia grabs the remote and fast forwards just as Claire is about to help the wounded guy. "Wait!" I yell. "I want to see her fix his shoulder." Elise gags, and I explain my professional fascination with this injury. "OMG," Tia says. "Better you than me. I'll go to the bathroom so I don't have to hear. Pause it after the gross part, okay?" She and Elise run off to the ladies' room, and I watch Claire fix Jamie's arm, sighing at the thought of relieving someone's pain with such skill, even as I cringe at her technique. When the girls get back, they tease me about my morbid fascination with injuries. I just shrug, but the time feels ripe to ask them for help. "Hey," I say timidly, fidgeting with their popcorn dish. "Can you help me pick out an outfit for the banquet?" They click off the TV and turn toward me, rapt. "Holy shit," they say. "Are you finally going to bag Baxter Morgan?" I flush. Seeing my face, Tia rolls her eyes. "Come on, Olive." "Like I said, Baxter and I are just friends," I tell them. They start to respond, but I hold up a hand. "But I decided I agree with you. I need to get laid. I was thinking I could entice someone Friday night at the banquet." Suddenly, the room is a whirlwind of activity. Elise is a business logistics major with an entire closet full of power suits. Tia agrees with her that since I'm not one for skirts, I should rock a sexy suit on Friday. We spend the next 45 minutes practicing walking the dorm halls in Spike Hills until I feel confident I'm not going to tip over. They both agree to help me with my hair and makeup on Friday, and when I finally go off toward my room, I feel energized and excited. I'm going out with a guy, and there's no pressure because, well, he's in love with someone else too. And somewhere along the way, I'm going to find someone at that party, and I'm going to have sex with him. I'm going to let all out the sexual frustration, and it's going to help me focus. I can tell. High on the anticipation of the next few days, I don't notice that my room is occupied until someone pulls me inside, slamming the door shut behind me.
"Where the hell have you been, Liv?"
Baxter Morgan has apparently gotten sick of me avoiding him. Chapter 18. Bax.
I know it's not fair that I storm in and out of Olive's life like this, but damn it, I need her this week. So much shit is going on, and I haven't talked to her for days. I don't think I've gone this long without seeing her in the whole time we've known each other. "Liv," I say as she opens her mouth to scream. "It's me. Where have you been?" When she tells me she's been across the hall watching television, I tug her over to the couch and accidentally pull her onto my lap as I hit my head on the damn loft bed. "I don't mean just today. I haven't seen you since Sunday morning." I pull her tight into a hug, not knowing how much it was going to affect me to see her again after so long. I feel my heart racing, and I realize what I'd most like to do is kiss her. And so I take a deep breath and ease her onto the couch next to me, leaning back to put some space between us before I cross a line.
"Bax,
She says.
It's just been a long week.
She tells me how she feels bad she wasn't able to be at my whole game, how she blames herself for me getting distracted and getting injured. Liv, no, this isn't on you, babe. Don't even think like that. I tell her my shoulder has been feeling great, that even though Justin is a total prick and I hate him, he's taking good care of me. I can start contact practice again if I pass a range of motion test in the morning. I hold my arm out front like Frankenstein. Look how good I'm getting. I don't tell her I will likely need another cortisone shot to get through the game this weekend. I can rest in a few months. It'll be fine. She smiles and swats me with a pillow from the couch.
Hey,
She says, twirling some of that weak gold hair around her finger.
I need to tell you something.
I'm pretty sure I know what this is, so I just wait for it and try to control my breathing. She's going to tell me she's going out with some other guy, another athlete at this school. I don't want to be an angry Neanderthal. I just can't help it most of the time. She tells me how she's going to the booster banquet with Tim from swimming, just as friends, and to my surprise, I still feel sort of calm about it. Okay, I tell her. I sort of knew that you were going. One of the other football guys knew. She furrows her brow.
That's weird,
She says.
I didn't tell anyone but Tia and Elise. Well, I guess the other trainers knew.
She crinkles her nose.
I don't really like that they talk like that.
I don't tell her that Kevin knew, and I'm not sure how he did. I didn't know it was Tim, though. That's the guy you've got your hands all over these days. I'm teasing, sort of, but Olive cracks a smile.
His hairless skin is so smooth,
She says, stroking my arm with her hand. My dick springs to attention faster than I can draw breath.
not like your gritty, hairy flesh.
I close my eyes as she rubs my arm. I'm suddenly very close to coming in my pants. Thankfully, Olive stands up and rummages in her cupboard. She pulls out a granola bar and brings it over to me. I take it from her, grateful for the distraction.
Tim says they shave everything to cut back on drag in the water.
She says.
It makes them faster, I guess.
I take a huge bite of the granola bar, which makes her smile.
I'm sorry I went AWOL this week.
She says.
I won't do that again.
Promise. She nods. I take a risk and cup her cheek. God, she feels good. I don't like being away from you. She seems to melt into my hand, her eyes closed.
I don't like it either.
We sit that way for a few minutes. My arm gets tired holding up her head, but I've got my thumb stroking along her jaw and the scent of her shampoo filling my nostrils. I don't want to move. And then she yawns, and I realize it's getting really late. We both have to be up early. You should get to bed, I whisper. She nods and unstraps the ridiculous shoes she had on when I got in here.
Wish you could stay here tonight.
She says.
We could cuddle up like bears and then get breakfast in the morning.
There's no fucking way I can fit up on that loft bed she's got. I'd break the ladder, I tell her, shaking my head. She pouts and groans, but I can see she's really getting tired. I'll boost you up, I say, and I'll turn out the lights before I leave. She nods with a sigh. I move to pick her up, but her eyes fly open.
Stop! Your arm!
I freeze where I am, my hands on her hips, right in that curve where her waist gives way to the round fullness of her ass. And I just stand there, with my hands splayed across her backside. The air between us feels electric and heavy, like the sky before a thunderstorm. I feel my heart racing, and I can see my chest rising and falling as I breathe shallowly and rapidly. I have to get out of here. But I can't leave her like this. I watch Olive swallow, see the pulse tick in her neck. I'm probably making her uncomfortable, standing in her space like this. I pull her close, just for a second, to plant a kiss on her forehead, and then I peel myself away from her. "Good night, Liv," I whisper. I back toward the window as always, but as I see her confused face, I know that something has happened. Something has changed. Just like always, I'm sure it's my own damn fault. I slip out of her window as she shuts off the light, and I walk home, trying to forget the warm feel of her body beneath my fingers.
Chapter 19. Olive. You're distracted today. Julia teases as I get the wires tangled on the TENS unit I'm trying to disinfect. Julia and Gabe got moved to volleyball and lacrosse. I guess Justin keeps shifting people around, left and right these days, and all of us are sort of unsteady as we double-check our protocols. I can only nod. Julia's right. My head has been swirling since Baxter left my room last night. These days, our physical contact doesn't feel platonic. Not for me. I'm getting desperate. Last night was not a training room massage or a pinpoint scan of his sore muscles. Baxter Morgan was strumming up heat inside of me with each swipe of his fingers. His hands pressed against my backside were pushing straight through my clothes, burning his mark upon my skin. At the thought of him marking me, I shudder. Julia notices. "That's some blush you've got there, Hampton." I blush deeper and raise my hands to my hot cheeks. "Let me see. Is that maybe because of your hot date this weekend?" I shake my head. Tim and I are just going to the banquet as friends. Is it like Gabe and I, just friends? Or are you actually just friends with this one? Julia stoops to put away a box of the plastic wrap we use to hold bags of ice in place on the athletes. "'Cause aren't you just friends with Baxter, too?" I chew on the inside of my cheek and look around to make sure everyone else is gone. "Okay, you cannot tell anyone this," I tell her. "I haven't told anyone this." "Yes." She claps her hands. "I am here for this. I am ready," she says, hopping up on the table. She leans her elbows on her legs, chin in hands. "My lips are sealed." I explain that I'm planning to get laid at the banquet. Julia looks confused. "It's just that—" I hesitate. This is really new territory for me, but I had a lot of success opening up to the girls across the hall. I take a deep breath. "I'm a virgin still. I'd like to not be anymore. I just want to find someone who would be decent about it, you know?" Julia looks like she wants to say something but holds back. "This isn't where I thought this conversation was going," she says. When I just look at her expectantly, she rolls her eyes. "I was sure you were going to ask me for advice, finally jumping out of the friend zone with Baxter." "Oh," I say, feeling the flush again. And here I go remembering his hips thrusting against me on his couch last week. "We're just friends," I whisper. "Truly." Julia sighs and reaches out to grab my hand. She gives me a reassuring squeeze. "Honey," she says, "I've seen friends. I've seen family friends. And then I've seen Baxter Morgan look at you for years." I shake my head. She squeezes my hand harder. "This isn't a risk for you, Olive. The man is in love with you. In love. Also lust. Fiery lust. I just don't think we can risk having something go wrong," I tell her. She gestures for me to join her up on the table. "Olive," she says, "has anything gone wrong in your life since Baxter's been in it?" I recoil. Basically everything." I say, listing off his brother's death, my parents basically kicking me out when I enrolled in college, his mother leaving. Oh, his dad pretty much disowned him too. He told him to never come back. Julia whistles through her teeth. Those are some pretty fucked up circumstances. It sounds to me like your relationship has already survived a lot of hard shit. What makes you think you can't weather some hot sex, too? I hadn't considered things from this perspective before. I have 0 models for a healthy relationship in my life, I tell her. I don't even know how to do that. And before you interrupt me, I don't think Baxter and I have a healthy level of dependence. I remind her how he comes over every night for my chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. I just wanted to see if having sex with someone else would help take the edge off. She laughs. Oh, you've got an edge, girl. She shrugs. I just don't know if sex with any old athlete is going to scratch that itch. Saturday morning, I'm a mess of nerves. Tim is back to full strength and comes into the training room for one final treatment before his meet. I feel a swell of pride when the trainers make sure to include my name a number of times in the write-up in his file. Excited for tonight? He smiles warmly as he shakes out his long arms. I nod. He gestures towards the stands. My parents came into town for the meet, he says. They wanted to meet you after. Oh, I say, pausing. Tim, I have to get to the football game after my shift. I'm so sorry. His face falls a little. I grab his hand. I'm the only family Baxter's got. I'm headed over there as soon as I get you into your goggles. I give him a hug for luck and agree to follow him into the pool so he can at least show me to his parents from the deck. He waves energetically, catching his parents' attention. I wave and smile timidly. Then he pecks me on the cheek before heading over to the team bench. I raise a hand to the spot where his lips met my skin, noting that his touch felt warm and familial. Definitely like a brother. Further contrast to the feelings I get whenever Baxter enters the same room as me. I stand by to watch as he takes the blocks, and I smile when the buzzer sounds for his race to begin. As I walk to the football game, I keep thinking about Tim. I would love to have met his parents and talked with them about Tim's progress this semester, health-wise. He's become a good friend, and I enjoy talking to him. If only he'd given me some notice, I could have arranged to meet his family for breakfast or something. Now I'm stuck feeling like I let him down, when making him happy would have meant letting Baxter down. Thankfully, I make it to the stadium in time for the game to start. I catch Baxter's eye from the bench as I take my seat along his friends' family members. Again, I feel a buzzing in my veins just looking at him. Eventually, I'll find this spark with someone else, and I know that Baxter will always be here for me, as a friend, as a confidant, as someone who knows my history. When he takes the field, I suck in my breath, waiting to see if his shoulder will impede his playing. I hear Scotty's parents mention that there are scouts here from the pros. I know Baxter is feeling the pressure to perform, feeling like his whole life is on the line. I think he underestimates his other skills. Hell, Bax would have a great career in private security, based on how he has treated me for the past 12 years. But I also want his dreams to come true for him. The opposing team quarterback receives the snap and drops back for the pass. I dig my fingers into my lap, hoping maybe Alex and the lineman will sack the quarterback, but the pass is up. The wide receiver snatches it from the air, and I see a blur of silver as Baxter streaks towards him. I can practically feel the collision as they both hit the ground, tackled out of bounds almost as soon as the player catches the ball. Is everyone else stuck in eternity to see if Baxter will rise, or is it just me? I focus on my breath, and then a cheer explodes from my mouth as he gets up and jogs back to his position. Baxter is back in business. Chapter 20. Olive. I don't stick around after the game to check on Bax. Justin and the staff can look out for him. I'm sure he's feeling fine after the game because he sends me a huge smile from the bench as SCU seals up another win. I give him a wave, and then I sneak off to start getting ready. Tia and Elise meet me at the dorms, excited about helping me perfect my look for tonight. In my heels, black skinny pants, a lacy cami, and a fitted black velvety jacket, I definitely feel sexy. The heels add to my height, while the tailored clothes accentuate my curves in a way that surprises me. Tia works on my makeup, giving me dark red lips and impossibly long lashes. They slick my hair back into a high ponytail, and then they curl the tail. I look and feel elegant and sexy. Like Catwoman. We add in sparkling earrings and a chunky necklace to complete the look, and Tia whistles through her teeth. Damn girl, you could seduce me tonight if you wanted. Elise claps her hands and makes me do a little turn. I've never in my life spent this long getting ready before, but I have to admit, this is amazing. Right on time, I get a call that I have a visitor at the front desk of our dorm, and the girls follow me down the hall to spy as I greet Tim. He stands by the doorman, wearing a fitted tux, looking insanely hot in dark gray with a long skinny tie. He grins when he sees me, his eyebrows shooting up towards his hairline. I smile timidly, clutching the tiny black bag I brought with my phone and ID, and some cash, just in case. Shaking himself back to the present, Tim stoops and plants a gentle kiss on my cheek.
You look beautiful,
he says. So do you, I reply truthfully. Tim is a beautiful man. His facial features are noble, strong lines. He has impossibly long lashes, too, and I'm pretty sure he didn't spend the afternoon getting them curled or using mascara. I slip my arm into the crook of his, and we head out to his car for the banquet. The donor banquet is my favorite function every year, but it's especially nice walking in on Tim's arm. I love seeing all the athletes dressed to the nines. They all look slightly awkward in their formal wear, but their bodies are so elegant. It's like a huge parade of glamorous people, surrounded by a ring of their rich patrons, eager to meet them. The two of us are definitely turning some heads, and it feels good to be seen this way. Most of the people in here have only ever seen me in khakis and an SCU polo shirt. As Tia said, tonight I'm reminding them I'm their trainer and a woman too. There is a pretty short line of people wanting to meet SCU star swimmers, but Tim introduces me kindly to the athletic supporters. Most of them look like they still swim laps every day to stay in shape, decades after graduating. We chat about my future plans for grad school, and I am stunned when one of the graying gentlemen hands me his card.
I'm on the kinesiology faculty in Ann Arbor,
he tells me after listening to Tim brag about how I helped him with his sore back this season.
Shoot me an email, and let's talk about your plans.
Tim excuses himself to grab us some champagne as I stare at the card in amazement, feeling the warm glow of excitement replace my flutter of nerves about being here. Then I feel someone watching me, a sense of being stared at. I look up across the room to see Baxter hanging out with the transfer quarterback, Kevin. Baxter is looking at me with an expression I haven't seen from him before. He looks wild. Tim returns with our drinks and clinks his glass against mine, drawing my attention back.
To connections,
he says, and I smile, watching as he looks up across the room.
Whoa,
Tim says.
Is that your friend? That guy is fucking staring at you, Olive.
I don't need to look back over my shoulder. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Bax tonight. Want to go over and talk to him with me? But Tim's face changes to one of concern, and I turn around. Kevin grabs Bax by the elbow, and they lean close for a photograph. I see Tim squeezing the stem of his champagne flute. What's wrong?
Nothing,
He grunts, finishing his drink in one gulp.
Do you want another drink?
I haven't even tasted my champagne yet. I look at Tim and shake my head, but he walks off to the bar. I decide to take a read of the room, searching for prospects. I catch the eye of Finnegan and Scotty and Smile, heading their direction. I wave and walk their way, noticing their jaws drop.
Olive.
Scotty is having the exact reaction I'd hoped for. I know I can't go for one of Bax's roommates, but I can tell that he thinks I look good in a non-friendly type of way. I feel satisfied and take a swig of my champagne. And then, of course, I cough when the bubbles hit my throat. Tim approaches us with a glass of something dark, and he puts a hand on my waist. Catching Scotty noticing, I say, "Guys, this is my friend Tim, from swimming." Neither Scotty nor Finnegan say a word, both just staring at me with Tim. I'm about to ask if they've seen Baxter, but Tim looks away.
Hey,
he says.
You want to grab an appetizer or something?
I'll catch you guys later, I guess, I say to Baxter's roommates. They nod without saying anything, continuing to stare at me while Tim pulls me towards tables of cheese and crackers. He seems so sullen as he swigs his drink. I can't figure him out today. This morning he wanted me to meet his parents, and now he is stiff and grouchy and half drunk. Hey, I say, touching his arm. Is something wrong? I offer him a plate with some crackers on it, but he shakes his head.
I can't eat bread in season,
he says, downing the rest of the drink, then grabbing yet another from a tray nearby. Oh, I'm sorry. I feel sheepish. I know Bax watches what he eats too, but his concern seems to be with adding weight to his frame.
It's fine,
Tim says, but he keeps looking over toward the football players. Not sure what else to do, or what exactly I did wrong. I nibble a piece of cheese, and then yelp as Tim leans in for a kiss. I stiffen. What the hell?
Come on, Olive, let me kiss you.
My mouth full of cheese, I draw my head back. This is not going as planned. What is going on, Tim? He keeps leaning toward me, sloshing a bit of his drink on my suit jacket.
Crap! Oh, shit, Olive, I'm sorry.
Tim moves to try to blot the wet spot on my jacket, but he's drunk already and he just smears the liquid around. Hey, I say. It's okay, but I'm going to find the restroom, all right? Tim nods, pulling his hands through his hair and then straightening out his tie. Why don't you go hang with your teammates while I'm gone? I don't look up to see if he joins the swim team. I need to find the bathroom before my borrowed clothes get ruined. I see the sign for the restroom on the far end of the room, and I walk faster, my heels pounding out a staccato beat on the wooden dance floor. As I reach for the handle of the bathroom, I feel someone coming up behind me. I sense him, and as I turn, he's there. Baxter, his eyes dancing with concern, and something more.
Liv,
he breathes.
What's wrong?
Chapter 21. Bax.
Coming to this banquet was a total mistake. First, everyone tries to make a big damn deal that I'm here with Kevin. Like that's so fucking different than all the years I brought Olive as a friend. So far, coming here with a dude is way easier than bringing Olive. No temptation that I'll do something I regret. No worries about getting her home safe. I smiled with all the big money donors and promised to sign autographs after draft weekend. I was feeling all right. But then, Olive shows up looking like sex on heels. I didn't even know she could look that way. Like, she looks fucking sexy, and I don't like a single thing about it. I don't like Tim's arm around her shoulders, introducing her to smarmy donors. I don't like Tim not looking at her like he wants to lick every inch of her, and I don't like it when he smiles at her. There's basically no way for Tim to come out of this alive. What is wrong with me that I don't want Olive to be happy? It's actually not that I don't want that for her. I just don't think any of the assholes who have shown interest are good enough for her. Who even is this guy? Tim is frowning across the room at me like he wants to kill me. Guess the feeling's mutual. Bottom line, I'm in Olive's life, so anyone lucky enough to win her attention better be damn happy to get me in a package deal. Kevin nudges me, and I realize I'm totally tuning everyone out. A few alumni from SCU have ownership shares in different pro teams around the country, and Kevin's got me chatting with some big shot from Detroit. Only I can't even concentrate because the last time I stared over at Olive, she looked upset. Kevin's talking about today's game. JT's thumb is still fucked up, so Kevin played the whole time. And he drapes an arm around my shoulders, talking about how many tackles I had in the second half. It's true. I had a good fucking game. Olive was there the whole time, smiling, supporting me. Everything clicked. As I slapped Kevin on the back, I turned to look for Olive again, wanting to smile at her instead of just glower at her sexy pants. Only there's nothing happy about what I see. She looks like she's about to cry, and she's hurrying across the room. "Excuse me, sir," I say to the Detroit guy. My friend seems upset. I don't wait to see what he says, just tear off after Olive. I'm pretty sure Kevin is following me, but I don't care. All that matters right now is making sure Olive is okay. Then I can dismantle whoever gave her that frown. I catch up to her just as she reaches for the bathroom door. I make contact with her arm, and I know it's going to be fine. I'm here with her now. "Liv," I say quietly, hoping to reassure her. "What's wrong?" But I don't get to hear her answer. She shrieks as someone shoves me hard from behind. As I catch my balance, I whip around to see her date, looking glassy-eyed and sloppy. "Fuck you, asshole," he says, like it's the first time he's strung that set of words together. "Fuck you." I raise a brow at him. Why the hell is he mad at me? Fuck me. Fuck me. I step into his space. He's about the same height as me, but I've got 100 pounds on him easy. What in the actual hell is your problem? Tim reaches for my lapels and tries to shake me, his face red with fury. "He's mine," he says. This guy is making 0 sense right now, and frankly, I don't even want to fight with him. I check to make sure Olive is a safe distance away from this guy, and I look over to see she's sort of backed up against the bathroom door. That's when Tim draws his arm back to take a swing at me. The guy wails, "He's mine," again as his wild punch glances off my shoulder and he winds up punching the wall, and then he crumples to the floor, withering in pain. Before I can make sense of any of this, Kevin curls over Tim, looking at him like I look at Olive. She's standing at the end of the hall with her mouth hanging open. "Tim," Kevin whispers, trying to soothe this swimmer. "You've got it all wrong." Tim just groans and tries to grab at his right arm, which looks funny inside his suit. He moans and shakes his head, rocking back and forth on the ground. "What did you do?" Kevin asks, his eyes flashing up at me. I just stand there with my palms up. "He hit me, man, but the sucker punch glanced off. I don't know. He hit the wall or something." I look down, and Olive is crouched on the ground beside Tim. She's running her fingers along his back, along his neck and shoulders. She's totally calm. Kevin rests his forehead against Tim's, while Olive checks Tim out, and I finally figure out that Kevin and Tim have a thing. Maybe it's like how Olive and I have a thing, but we also don't. Either way, I can tell my quarterback is really upset that Tim is in pain here. I squat down. Olive, tell me what I should do. She doesn't look up, keeps her thumb along a spot on Tim's shoulder that makes him groan.
He's dislocated his shoulder,
She says.
Call an ambulance for me, Bax, okay?
I stand up to do that and watch as Olive murmurs to Tim.
I'm going to help you fix this.
She tells him.
But it's going to hurt, okay?
I start explaining to the dispatcher that there's a guy with a dislocated shoulder, that he's got an athletic trainer with him, and hang up when she says the ambulance is on its way. I watch Olive get Tim up to a seated position, and he wails as she puts his injured arm on his knee. She's got Kevin helping her support Tim's back, and Kevin is chewing on his lip, looking totally grossed out at the way Tim's arm hangs. Tim's shoulder is dangling at a gross angle. I've seen dislocated shoulders before, but usually the guys are all wearing pads at football, so you can't tell how wonky the bones look when they're not in the right place. Olive braces Tim's good hand on the bad one on top of Tim's knee. I crouch down next to her to see if there's anything I can do, but she shakes her head rapidly, so I back up. Olive starts rocking Tim backwards. I see sweat break out on his forehead, but Olive is totally calm. She nudges Kevin out of the way and rocks Tim back a bit more. I hear an awful sound, part Tim groaning, part his joint moving, I guess, and then Tim exhales as I watch his shoulder slide back into place. Fuck yeah, Livy. I want to give her a high five. That was incredible. I always saw guys getting their arms tugged and snapped to get the joint back in. She just rocked him back and forth like a ball. Tim sort of whimpers and sinks into Kevin, who leans his head to the side and pukes, most of it splashing on Olive. God damn it, Kevin. What the fuck, man? I want to jump in and be useful and clean up this disgusting mess, but Olive doesn't seem to mind. Shh, she whispers. She starts lowering Tim back down to the floor. Kevin adjusts his posture so that Tim can rest his head in Kevin's lap, and Kev starts stroking Tim's hair. Definitely a thing together, I think. I hear a commotion behind me and turn around to see that a crowd of people from the banquet room has spilled into the hall to see what's going on. A bunch of dudes start jostling their way to the front, yelling that they are doctors and some bullshit. Olive took care of it, I say as I see the paramedics coming in the sliding doors in the lobby. The EMTs start asking questions, the doctors start pointing and yelling, and everyone is talking at once, until Olive stands up and cups her hands over her mouth. She shouts,
The patient had an anterior shoulder dislocation. I assisted him with self-reduction using the Boss-Halzak matter technique.
Everyone is kind of quiet then, and I'm all smiles. Like a boss, Olive. I nudge Kevin with my foot. Get it, boss technique. Kevin wipes his mouth with his sleeve and works his way to a standing position while the EMTs get Tim on a gurney. This is the worst date I've ever had, I tell him, clapping a hand on his shoulder. He shakes his head.
Now is not the time, Morgan.
You riding in the ambulance with your boy, or should Olive go with him? Kevin looks horrified by my words.
Of course I'm fucking going with him.
I nod and drape my suit jacket around Olive, who is still sort of dripping with Kev's puke. Okay, we'll meet you there, all right? Kevin jogs off after the gurney, and I can't stop grinning at Olive. I don't even care that Coach is trying to hustle all the big wigs back into the banquet. Nothing exists for me right now except her. I can't even believe how amazing she is, And I really can't believe I haven't been telling her so. Olive, I say, dropping a kiss on the top of her head. God damn, her hair smells good today. Everything about her looks amazing and so damn sexy. But she also rocked that crisis like a goddess. Baby, you were incredible just now. Do you fucking know how incredible that was? She smiles and her eyes are sparkling, almost like she's not covered in quarterback puke.
Thank you, Bax. Can you take me to the hospital? I really want to check on him. Make sure I didn't damage anything.
I will absolutely drive you there so everyone can thank you and reiterate that you did everything textbook perfect.
Chapter 22. Olive. I am absolutely exhausted when I sink into the passenger seat of Baxter's truck. God, I stink. I'm covered in Kevin's vomit, but I'm not really wearing enough clothing that I could take off any one layer and still look decent in public. Do you have anything in your truck? I ask Baxter. But he only has some old practice towels lying on the jump seat. He's parking at the emergency room entrance by the time I mop up what I can with the towels. It's going to have to be good enough, I decide, slipping out of Tia's blazer and into Bax's huge jacket. I don't miss his eyes lingering on my chest in the lacy camisole, but there's no time for me to stop and wonder what it might mean that Baxter Morgan is finally paying attention to my body. I quickly walk up to the front desk, making note that the hospital floors are a bit slick under my heels. The security guard looks up from his newspaper.
May I help you?
Yes, hi. I realize I look a mess. I'm looking for Tim Peterson. He came in via ambulance a few minutes ago. I'm his athletic trainer, and I was hoping... The guard points a thumb down the hall.
He's in room 106,
he says. He eyes Baxter curiously, but I grab his hand.
You two can head on back.
When Bax and I get down the hall to Tim's room, he seems to be asleep on the bed. Kevin sits beside him on a folding chair, holding Tim's hand and kissing Tim's knuckles. Kev looks up when we walk in and seems relieved. Springing up from the chair, Kevin pulls me and Baxter both into a big hug. Guys, I am so fucking sorry, he says. Jesus, this is exactly the kind of shit I try to avoid. This is why I don't date guys who are in the closet. Kevin starts pulling at his hair and then sinks back into the chair, picking Tim's hand back up. Tim has one arm in a sling against his chest to keep the joints stable. He must have gotten some good pain meds if he can sleep right now, because I know this injury is quite painful. I pat Kevin's back, trying to reassure him, but Baxter isn't one to offer soft words.
Kevin, you have about 5 minutes to tell me what the fuck is going on with this whole fucking day before the paparazzi gets here,
he says, gesturing down the hall.
The guard definitely knows who I am, and the staff probably knows who you are. So spill it before we're on the top of everyone's Instagram.
Tim's story breaks my heart, I tell Baxter, reaching for one of his fries in the cafeteria. We spent the past hour listening to Kevin explain how he and Tim grew up together. We're friends all through high school. Pence Peterson, Kevin said. We were always together, always. Kevin has been out since elementary school, but Tim only admitted his feelings for Kevin's senior year, after a drunken prom night. Tim is absolutely terrified of losing his family, of losing their support, of what they'd say if they found out his true feelings for the boy next door. And so Tim and Kevin spent the summer before college hiding their relationship. Baxter frowns into his fries and says,
Kevin said it was a relief when they went off to different schools. I don't get that at all.
He takes my hand.
I could never be happy at a different school for my best friend.
I shrug. Yeah, but Kevin was probably exhausted from having to hide. At his other school, it sounds like he could date whoever he wanted and just be open about it. I swallow. Kevin said he tried to stay away from Tim when he transferred here to SCU, tried to give him space, especially when he learned Tim was still in the closet. "Loving him is killing me," Kevin said quietly, crying in Tim's hospital room. "But being apart from him was killing me too." Kevin apologized for not being totally honest with Bax, that bringing him to the banquet was mostly a ploy to see if he could still make Tim jealous. It certainly worked, and it definitely didn't make Kevin feel any better. My breath catches as I watch Baxter take a sip of his drink, and holding me in an intense stare, Bax says,
"Dating and fucking a string of randoms isn't freeing, Olive. You think it's going to ease what you're really trying to hide, but it doesn't work like that."
The air is heavy between us, and my hands start shaking. I want so badly to tell Baxter the truth, to stop hiding how I feel and just take that leap. Ask him what he's trying to hide. Let myself be with him. Down the hall, Tim is probably coming to and having to make a choice. Baxter was right about the rabid paparazzi. Social media influencers and sports reporters flooded into the hospital as soon as Kevin was done talking. I saw online pictures from the banquet hall with Kevin stroking Tim's hair in his lap after I set his shoulder. Tim's either going to have to lie to the media to keep up the ruse that he's straight, or he's going to risk losing his family to be with the man he loves. Baxter and I both lost our families a long time ago. We know how dark that path can be. But right now, sitting across from him at this shitty hospital cafeteria, it doesn't feel so scary to reach out and rub his leg. So I do. "Bax," I whisper. He rests his hand on top of mine, on his rock-hard thigh. "Take me home." Chapter 23. Bax.
By the time I get Olive back to my place, she's shaking all over. I don't know if she's cold or if it's the adrenaline. It's probably both, if memory serves. I don't say much in the car. Something definitely shifted with us after hearing Kevin's story. The way she put her hand on my leg in the cafeteria, that was different. I'm not expecting any of my roommates to be home yet. They're probably all still at the damn banquet, gossiping about what the hell happened with me and Kevin. But I'm relieved all the same when the suite is empty. I get Olive right inside the door and start peeling her out of my suit jacket. "Livy," I say, my voice quiet, my throat tight. "You're trembling, and you stink." She laughs a little, but her teeth are chattering. "You always get the shakes after something intense. We need to get you in the shower, baby," I say to her, and she nods, pulling her arms across her chest, shivering. I step into the bathroom and crank on the hot water in the shower, and then come back out to her. Olive is struggling to unstrap her shoe, hopping on one foot with shaking hands. "Let me do that," I tell her, kneeling on the floor in front of her. I gently lift one foot and try to get the straps unhooked. The buckle is tiny, and I have huge fucking troll fingers. That's what Olive calls them. I finally manage both shoes, and I see that her knees are knocking together. It's definitely adrenaline. She must have been totally holding back how shaken up she was to have to help Tim like that at the dance. "Hey," I whisper, helping her out of her pants. Trying not to look. I'm just helping her. Just helping my friend. "You never told me what had you upset at the banquet. When you ran off." She shakes her head.
"It's stupid,"
she says through chattering teeth. "Not stupid," I tell her, rubbing my hands up and down her legs, trying to warm her up a bit, before I help her get in the shower. Fuck, the skin on her thighs is like silk. You could never be stupid. I move my hands to her bare arms, rubbing her soft skin. I feel her start to relax under my hands, and I see so much trust in her face. God, she's perfect. You knew just what to do today, Livy. I tell her. I'm in awe of you. You're magic. I tell her. On my knees in front of her, my face is just about level with hers. I extend my head up and kiss the tip of her nose. She sucks in her breath in a little gasp. Your touch always makes me feel better, Olive. Always. I'm rubbing her face now, her collarbones in that sexy fucking tank top that reeks of Kevin's puke. I can see her nipple standing out, straining against the fabric. I swallow, trying my hardest to remember that I'm trying to help her here, that it would be totally sleazy to make a move on her when she's shivering. Let me put you in the shower, I say, and when she nods, I pick her up. I love the weight of her cradled in my arms. I love the feel of her curves against me.
I wanted to look sexy,
she says, her voice quiet. You what?
at the banquet.
She says, shrugging out of the stained tank top. I grab it from her and throw it away, trying not to look at her body as she stands in front of me, wearing just a bra and panties.
I wanted to look sexy so someone would want to sleep with me,
Olive says. I close my eyes and rest my head against the tile. I'm trying to maintain discipline and it's not going well. Are you okay getting in the shower? I need to get out of here. I need to keep my eyes shut. I need to respond to what she said in a way that doesn't ruin everything.
Bax,
she says. I hear her pull back the curtain and climb in.
come in with me.
Come in with me, like it's nothing. But at this point, my control is gone. I have the woman of my dreams standing in front of me naked and wet.
Warm me up, Baxter,
she says, so I climb into the shower in what's left of my tux. I blink beneath the water and stare at Olive. I stare at her from the tips of her painted toes and all up her magnificent body to her brown eyes that are scanning mine and looking for an answer. You are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, I tell her in a hushed voice. My hand reaches out and cups the back of her neck, pulling her against me beneath the spray of the water, and then I'm kissing her and everything else melts away. Like my dream the other night, her lips are pillowy and soft, hungry and wanting. I increase the pressure, the intensity, needing more of her. My tongue explores her mouth and I feel little moans escape her while her hands gather the wet fabric of my shirt. Olive pulls back from the kiss.
I need you, Baxter,
she tells me.
I've always needed you.
And then she delves in, her tongue running along my teeth. I feel her teeth close in on my lower lip, and my eyes fly open in surprise. Livy. My voice sounds hoarse and ragged. I need you so fucking bad. One of my hands snakes around her waist, rolling along the swell of her hip. The other moves from her neck to her lower lip, and as I rub my thumb along her sensitive skin, she sucks it into her mouth and groans.
Chapter 25. Olive. I wake up naked, curled around Baxter in bed, and so unbelievably happy. Every muscle in my body aches when I inhale after a night spent making love repeatedly. I feel like I have so much ground to cover with Baxter, so much time to make up after so many years of wanting him. Every time I told him I was exhausted and needed to sleep last night, he bit my earlobe and told me he needed to try just one more thing. Then he made me come so hard I saw spots. His alarm goes off around 9 for his PT before Sunday workouts. He opens his eyes, long lashes curling at the ends, and his face is so close to mine. I love that I feel this nearness with him, this electrifying new honesty where I can just kiss him when I feel like it, which is all the time. As his phone vibrates and dances across his nightstand, I pull him in and moan into his mouth.
Morning, Olive.
He says,
Baby, you're going to make me miss my session.
He juts his hips forward and I gasp, feeling him hard against my belly again. How can it jump right back up into action so fast? I reach down to grab my new favorite body part, but Baxter pushes my hand away.
He knows what he wants,
he says.
But I'll have to catch you a little later, okay? I have to keep my shoulder loose.
Bax climbs out of bed, and I admire the shape of his ass, his thick, powerful thighs. He rummages around in his drawers and tosses me some clothes to put on, since mine are presumably still crumpled in his hall, covered in puke, or wet from the shower.
Here, babe, you can wear these till you get home and changed.
He watches while I slip into his t-shirt, snorting out a laugh when the short sleeves reach nearly to my wrists. What am I going to do about shoes? I muse, trying to imagine myself walking home in my heels from last night.
If you hurry your ass up, I'll drop you off outside your dorm, and you can just run in barefoot.
He crawls back across the bed and kisses me as I wriggle into his sweats. I can't stop thinking about the sound of his voice when he tells me he loves me, which he does at least 10 times during the ride to McPherson Hall. In a dreamy haze, I unlock my door and change for my own shift at the training room. It doesn't even occur to me to check on Tim as I walk to work, humming and remembering the feel of Baxter's fingers along my body. Remembering the slick, smooth sensation of him filling me. The way his cock feels gliding in and out of my body. I can't believe I've been missing out on this for so long. I don't notice the awkward silence in the training room until I've hung up my bag and turn around to see Emily staring at me, biting her lip. What? I whisper to her, looking around. There's a few swimmers scattered around, but mostly the room seems quiet. And then I see Justin glowering in the door of his office.
Olive, get in here,
he says, his voice cold.
Now.
He turns around and I hear the groan of his desk chair as he sinks into it. My eyes go wide and Emily reaches out to squeeze my hand. It'll be okay, she tells me. I promise. I'm going to stay right here and keep my eyes on the office, okay? My heart pounds as I walk toward his office, and I'm barely inside before he starts screaming at me.
Do you have any idea what the hell you've done?
Justin shouts about practicing medicine without a license and unsupervised, reckless behavior.
You could have permanently injured Tim.
He screams.
In a room full of doctors. There was absolutely no reason for you to do what you did.
I know it's not worth interrupting him to explain the chaos of the hallway. I don't need to tell him that Tim was in agony and that I had Bax call 911 immediately. I believe eventually Bax could have procured one of the doctors for men at the banquet, but pandemonium would have ensued in that hall. I stand patiently biting my lip and listening as Justin yells at me until I hear him utter the unthinkable.
Get your things and get out,
he says at last.
You're fired.
What? The word falls out of my mouth unintentionally, and I see a vein tick in Justin's neck.
I said you're fucking fired, Olive. Get
out. I'm proud of myself for not crying in front of him, or even when Emily hugs me in the hall as she hands me my bag and a note card with her cell number on it. I don't start crying and shaking until I get out of the building. Losing my position was not even something I considered when I jumped into action while Tim was hurting. But now, faced with the reality of losing my work-study job, I realize that I'm a third of the way into my senior year and have no way to cover costs. My scholarship depends on keeping this job. 3 years and change are about to have been wasted if I can't figure out what the hell to do. Okay, I tell myself as I cry while I'm walking. We need to figure out a plan. When I get back to my dorm, I see that Tia and Elise are in their room with their door open, and I practically fall into their room, relieved to see people who care about me. Oh! I sob as they spring up to hug me. Olive! Tia shouts, rubbing my back. What happened? Come here! They pull me in and wrap me up tight, and I tell them everything. Chapter 26. Bax.
Thwack. I feel a sting on my leg as someone flicks me, and I crack open one eye as I'm lying on the table getting my deep tissue massage. Kev, dude, if we're going to be friends, you have to stop fucking flicking me. He interrupted me daydreaming about my night with Olive. He stands next to the table, looking exhausted, like he sat up all night. The hospital, I realize. Oh shit, I say, sitting up. Hey, can we end a few minutes early? I raise my eyebrows to the trainer who smiles and pats my leg.
Sure,
she says.
Everything looks great, Bax.
Thank you, I say, walking to the hall with Kevin, who proceeds to slump against the wall. How's Tim?
He's home,
Kevin says.
Looped up on Oxy. His family knows everything, by the way. It went about as well as he feared.
I run my hands across my chin. That fucking sucks, dude. I think about how my family treats me like shit, too, and my mom, in fact, drove right out of my life forever. Does he know this is on them and not about anything he did? I always try to remember Olive's words to me about my parents making their own choices, about them not dealing with their own shit. It feels like the right thing to say. Kevin shakes his head. I don't know, but listen, that's not why I got you out of your massage. He looks around the hall and lifts up on his tiptoes to see something in the training room office. Olive got fired this morning, he whispers. Word is, she's pretty upset. I run directly to Olive's dorm. This is such bullshit. I can't even believe this is happening after the best night of my life. I have to sign in as a damn guest and wait for someone to escort me to Olive's room, since she's evidently not in there to open the window, and she locked it before the banquet last night.
Are you Baxter?
A girl I've seen around Olive's dorm stands in the hall.
I'm Tia,
she says. She nods her head at the doorman.
He's with me.
I walk over to her and she takes my arm.
Olive's pretty torn up,
she says.
But she keeps pausing to apologize about my clothes getting ruined. Seriously, tell her to stop worrying about the clothes, okay?
I smile. I like this girl already. When I get down the hall, I see Olive curled up on a bed in their room across the hall from her own. Hey, I say, crouching down beside her. It's going to be okay, baby. We're going to fix this, okay? Oh, Bax, she sobs. I haven't seen her this upset in years. Not since her huge fight with her parents when they tried to prevent her from coming to school in the first place. Hey, I tell her, scooping her off the bed and into my lap. I just keep repeating the only truth I know. We're going to fix this. You're going to be okay because I love you and I'm not going to let anything happen to you. All right? I feel her nodding and I let her cry for a bit. Tia and Elise are staring at us with wide eyes, like this is some breaking news. Whatever. I know they knew I loved Olive this whole time. Her breathing slows after a while, and I look down. I think she fell asleep. I whisper to the girls. I'm just going to take her across the hall. They nod and help me get the door open. I carry Olive to the couch and sink into it with her on top of me. I run my fingers through Olive's hair as she sleeps. I should be exhausted after everything that's happened, but I feel a sense of calm. It felt like the biggest risk of my life, and simultaneously the easiest thing I ever did when I kissed Olive in that shower, when I told her I love her. I spent so many years feeling scared of letting her know how I felt. So long worried that making this leap would mean the beginning of the end of having someone I can rely on. I guess it might be too early to know that things are going to be all right, but her getting fired, this is just going to be a blip. I wish I knew what I could do to fix it, though, because I know Olive being here at college is tied to that job. She got her tuition paid for partly from a federal work-study program. I never had to learn anything about that shit because me and all the guys are here on a full ride. She's really out, which makes sense because I fucked the hell out of her last night after we had a huge ordeal. I smile, happy I wore her out enough that she can get some sleep. I lean my head back on the couch and shift Olive so I can reach my phone in my pants pocket. Keeping her tucked in one arm, I scroll through my contacts until I get an idea. Finnegan. I whisper into my phone when he picks up. Weren't you banging some chick who worked in the financial aid office? Shouldn't you be here in the weight room? He grunts, and I can tell he's trying to lift while he talks to me. Something came up. But listen, I need you to help me out. We gotta find Olive another work-study job. I hear the sound of weights hitting the floor. Doesn't she already stretch out the fencing team? Swimmers, dude. But she got fired today. Olive stirs, and I rub my hand along her jaw. God, this feels so right. I can't believe I haven't just been doing this all the years I felt the urge. I convince Finnegan to send me his girl's number, and working my other hand out from beneath Olive, I start to put together the most important text introduction of my entire life.
Chapter 27. Bax.
Olive sleeps on my lap for a few hours, and when she finally stirs, I reach down and greet her with a kiss. It just feels so right to press my lips against hers and let her know she's my everything. I love you, I tell her.
Even though I'm penniless and will probably have to drop out.
Hey, Livy, you can't talk that way. We're going to figure out something, okay? She shakes her head and stretches.
I'm sorry. I love you, but I just need like a few days to wallow about this.
Olive never wallows. To an outsider, it might seem like hiding in the forsythia bush in the backyard was her burying her head in the proverbial sand, but I think it's amazing that Olive's found that escape, a way to get away from her parents screaming. She definitely used her time in there to create solutions for me. Helping her find a new job is the least I can do. I open my mouth to tell her about the text I was sending with Finnegan's girl, Leslie, but I'm interrupted by a rap on Olive's window. What the hell? I look over my shoulder and see Kevin and Tim standing outside smiling and waving. Olive raises an eyebrow and gets up to open the window.
Hey, Tim, should you be up and around?
Kevin drops an arm around Tim's shoulder.
He's great. Got him on the good pain meds. Let us in.
I open the window and lean out to give Kevin a hand, but he swats my arm away.
Dude, Tim had a dislocated shoulder. He can't climb through the fucking window. I meant meet us at the front door.
Kev shakes his head at me and starts walking around the building. Olive giggles and heads down the hall to get them. I guess it's at least good to see her mood lighten. I fiddle around with her remote while I wait for them all to get back. It's a tight squeeze with 2 football players and a lanky swimmer in Olive's dorm room. I sit back and wait for Kev to tell us what the hell he's doing here, which he proceeds to do, but not until he drops a kiss on Tim's cheek. The intimacy of the kiss makes me blush. I'm not going to lie. Kev's love for Tim is so palpable. I can just feel it, and I reach for Olive as if by reflex, needing to be in contact with her. Kevin says,
We wanted to thank you again, Olive. The doctor said moving fast like that, you prevented Tim from having to have surgery.
Tim nods.
You protected my rotator cuff. I might even be doing the butterfly by spring semester, if I push it in PT.
Olive's smile brightens her whole face, and I reach over to tuck a lock of her hair behind her ear so I can see her glowing. She should be basking in this happiness. Not sad that some dickwad on a power trip yelled at her. You should tell all this shit to Olive's former boss, I mutter, squeezing Olive's leg in support. Kev whips his head my way.
What do you think we've been doing this afternoon?
Tim nods.
It's true. First stop I made after I got discharged. I told everyone who would listen. Emily says hey, by the way, Olive.
He takes a swig of water and then struggles to get the cap back on his water bottle one-handed. Kevin reaches for it and closes it for him.
Anyway, Justin was a total jerk to me, and I didn't want to stick around and deal with him today. But I wanted to let you know I'm doing all that I can for you, Olive, to get you back in there.
Olive's eyes well up with tears, and she grabs for his hand. Gently, I guess.
You have so much on your plate, Tim. You don't have to worry about me. Tell me what happened with your family.
Kevin's jaw tightens while Tim tells us about his dad yelling a bunch of unpleasant, backwards shit, but Tim's been texting with his mom and sister.
I think it'll be okay eventually,
he says.
Honestly, my mom said she sort of knew, but it scared her.
Kevin tells us that his mom actually called Tim's mom, and it sounds like that was helpful since Kev and his family are literal poster children for happiness. Anyway, I say, clearing my throat. What I was going to say was Finnegan and I might have a solution for you, Olive.
Really? Because Justin hates you almost as much as he hates me.
Fuck that guy. No, I think I got you another work-study gig. Still in the athletic department, even. Olive's eyes widen, and I rub a thumb along her knuckles. I mean, it's not anything really using your skills like the training room, but Finn's girl Leslie says the pay is the same. You'd be in the laundry room. I watch Olive's face work through a series of emotions. Tim coughs.
The laundry room?
She nods her head and starts to whisper.
I own the prize, right? I can stay in school at least, right?
Right, baby. I drop a kiss on her forehead and wonder if Kevin can feel me loving on her, if that shit makes him uncomfortable. But I get the strong sense that he doesn't give a shit, because he's rubbing Tim's leg. Tim shakes his head.
No, that's ridiculous. Olive cannot fold sweat towels. I'm going to fix this, Olive. I promise. This is my fuck up. If I'd just been open about myself years ago, This would never have happened.
Hey, I interrupt. First of all, nobody in this room can fault you for not being honest and open. Look at me and Olive. She wouldn't have been at that banquet with you if I'd been honest with her sooner, right? Tim rolls his eyes. And second, I appreciate you wanting to help. I do. But I'm going to take care of my girl. There's no reason she can't enroll in the graduate program she's looking at while she folds towels, right? Kevin's eyes go wide. Olive stiffens a bit.
Babe,
She swallows and shakes her head.
I just don't see a way, Bax. Without a recommendation from Justin, with getting fired, no references, what program would take me?
The air is heavy and quiet for a few minutes until Kevin clears his throat and declares it time for him to get Tim home for ice and stem. Gross, Kev, I say, flicking him. He pulls me in for a hug and they take off down the hall. I eye up the ladder to Olive's loft bed, and I know there's no way in hell my ass is getting up there. Come on, I say to her. You're sleeping at my place.
Chapter 28, Olive. Bax and I walked to his suite, hand in hand, him carrying my overnight bag. This feels so much the same as before, and yet so different. There's a huge weight lifted, even though my life is crashing down right now. I told Bax I love him. He loves me back. He found me a replacement job, even if it does kind of suck. I could never say that out loud to him. I sigh and lean my head against his shoulder. I'll fold towels for a few months if I need to. I can finish my degree. Who knows? Maybe I can get a job in a clinic or something and put off grad school for a year. That will give me more time to figure out where Bax gets drafted anyway. After the game he had this week, it seems pretty certain he will go in the first round. I heard Scotty and Coach talking about it. I love that you found me a new job, I tell him, kissing his shoulder. We get to Bax's suite, and he waves at his roommates, who all sort of grunt without turning away from their video game. Bax tugs me into his room, and shutting the door, pulls me into his arms.
I'll do anything to keep you by my side, he says, kissing my neck.
That feels really nice.
Which part?
He asks, kissing again, dragging his tongue up my throat. I let my hands explore his shoulders, tickling down his chest. All of it, I tell him. Knowing you care, feeling your kisses, all of it.
I want you to feel all my kisses,
he tells me, and warmth blooms throughout my body, pulsing in my center as he tugs me closer. I stretch up to meet his mouth with mine, groaning into his kiss. Everything about last night was so perfect. Even if I have a tinge of soreness today, I know it will fade, and Bax will make me forget it by delivering waves of pleasure again. I want to feel all of you, I tell him. I want to figure out my favorite way to be close to you. He smiles and rubs his stubble against my cheek.
I've got some ideas to test out,
he says, and for the next few hours, we work on some experiments. My alarm goes off at the same time as Baxter's, but I realize I don't actually need to be up at this hour. I'm not going to the training room today. I'm not going to stretch anyone's sore muscles, tape any ankles, or heal anyone's injuries. I untangle my limbs from Baxter's and try to roll to the side of his bed. He tugs me back closer.
Oh, no, you don't,
he says, spinning me to face him. I see his brown eyes twinkle in the morning light.
No feeling sorry for yourself today.
You said I could have a day.
I don't remember agreeing to that,
he says, swatting my backside. I yelp from the sting of his palm, and then I moan when he starts to rub the spot he smacked. He says.
I wish I had time.
He crawls under the covers and bites me on the ass, making me shriek.
I gotta get to the weight room, Livy, but I'm marking this spot for later so I can pick up where we left off.
I hear someone pound on the door.
Morgan!
Scotty yells.
Get your shit together. Finnegan's driving in 5.
Baxter kisses me one more time and springs up, pulling on sweats and a pair of sneakers from his closet.
I'll find you later, okay?
I nod.
Leslie is supposed to call you today from financial aid. Be ready.
I smile again, watching him walk away. Eventually, I get up and make myself a coffee in Baxter's kitchen before heading to class. My phone rings, and I start to think that Leslie is pretty damn efficient to be calling before 9 on a Monday. But when I look at my phone, I see an out-of-state number. Hello?
Olive Hampton? Bradford Clark. We met at the athletic banquet.
Bradford Clark. I rack my brains and come up empty. I'm about to mutter some excuse when he carries on.
I know there was some excitement there toward the end. That's what I'm calling about. I just spoke with Tim Peterson.
Bradford is the kinesiology professor from Ann Arbor. I remember meeting him at the banquet before everything erupted. I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to email, sir.
Well, from the sound of things, you've been a busy lady, he says. Look, I won't keep you from class. I just wanted to let you know that I've got my eye on you. Anyone who can pull off a Boss Halzak matter technique in heels at a banquet is someone I want in my program.
I don't know what to say. I manage to mutter as my insides swirl with possibilities.
I've known the Peterson family for a long time,
he continues.
Tim's dad and I go way back.
He pauses, and I wonder if he's aware of Tim's falling out with his family after the events of this past weekend.
Anyway, between this hero move and your excellent work getting Tim into butterfly shape after the back spasms, I think it's safe to say we have room for you. Have you done much work with baseball?
Baseball? This is all moving so quickly. I can't quite keep up, and I feel like I should be taking notes. Bradford explains that he's going to be the principal investigator on a shoulder study for the pitchers on the top-ranked Ann Arbor baseball team as soon as his grant comes through, which should be next fall.
It'll be good to have my research team in place, he says. Have you applied to our program yet?
Bradford and I talk a bit more about my situation. When I tell him I've been fired from the training room at SCU, he says, in a low growl, but doesn't elaborate. After a long pause, he says,
Well, like I said, anyone who can keep her cool while an athlete pukes on her and still reset the joint like a boss, Olive, I want you in my program. Put your application together and send it all directly to me, okay?
By the time we hang up, I'm late for class and I've evidently missed a call from Leslie. Everything is happening at once, but I can't help smiling at the anticipation of it all. So this is what it feels like when things are going well for a change, I think, typing my grad school application on the sly from the back row of my econ lecture. Chapter 29, Baxter, 6 months later.
Draft day. The day I've been looking forward to for 20 years. I wake up with my girl in my bed and my dick hard against my stomach. I don't even think I can concentrate to even deal with a hard-on. My insides are a wreck. The past couple of months have been surreal for me. Olive got to stay in school thanks to the work-study job in the laundry room. She said she didn't mind washing sweat towels, but I think that's mostly because I helped her shower after every shift. And I've gotten really fucking thorough when it comes to making sure my girl is clean. The situation with Justin took care of itself when a couple of the graduate student trainers filed a complaint against Olive's former boss. He'd been messing with all kinds of shit in the training room, taking people off their cases and wrecking their graduate research. By the time the athletic director fired him, he got dozens of phone calls about inappropriate shit that douche did to women, dating back years. As soon as they hired a new head trainer, I made sure Olive was back in there where she belongs. She threw me through a loop, though, when she told me she wanted to stick with the swim team. She says she's got a lot to learn about shoulders to be ready to dive into her grad program in the fall. Surprisingly, I don't even miss the extra time with her because I get to spend all night with her now. I can't believe there was a time when I didn't spend every night with my face between her legs, making her scream my name in bed way louder than she ever screamed from the bleachers at a football game. Olive stirs and opens her eyes. Then she feels my rock-hard third leg between us, and she drops a hand to it. I wince at the contact.
Oh,
She says,
someone is excited about draft day.
I feel like I might puke. I tell her. Most of the guys expected to go in the first round are camped out at home with their families and their agents. Everyone I care about in the world is right here at Stone Creek University, so I see no reason to go anywhere. Which means the TV crew is showing up at my suite in a few hours.
Want to see if I can help you relax?
Olive's gotten real frisky, and I'm going to be really honest and say I fucking love that. Olive sits on the arm of my couch, chewing on her lip. Kev and Tim are here eating snacks that Tim's mom had sent over. He's still not eating carbs, which is why Kev's mom sent along breadsticks, so we'd have options. Kev isn't interested in going pro. He and Tim have big plans to take over the business world after graduation. They both have jobs lined up at some sort of foundation for gay teens. Olive's grad program sent a box of Ann Arbor gear with a note in it. My agent got a call from Detroit last week, and I know people have been talking. Olive's mentor and Tim's dad apparently know the coach from Detroit and told him how I kept my cool at the banquet. My agent got a text that said something about how he needs another hothead tackle, like he needs a hole in the head. I was confused about all of it until Olive assured me they are all excited about me. My dad was fucking wrong about everything. People want me on their team, and I can be an asset on and off the field. I try not to focus too much on Detroit, though. Anything could happen, and I know Olive and I will be together no matter what. Her grad program isn't forever. We have all the time in the world to be together, and when I go pro, I'll be able to fly her to wherever I am whenever I want. First class, like she fucking deserves. I start to sweat as the film crew turns on the lights while the draft begins. Detroit gets to pick first since they had such a bad season last year. But defensive players hardly ever go first. Can't set my hopes on this too much. I feel Olive rubbing my shoulder, but the sound of my heart drums out everything else in the room. I try to focus on the TV, but my mouth is thick and I can't swallow. And then the room erupts. Kev and Tim are on their feet, and Finnegan and Scotty start dumping champagne over my head. My agent leans against the wall with a smile and starts to say something, but I have to find my center, my gravity. I look to Olive and pull her down on my lap. What just happened? I ask, leaning my forehead against hers. She rubs her hand down my cheek.
You got drafted by Detroit, Bax.
We're going to be together. I whisper, pulling her hand into mine.
Always.
She tells me, and she pulls me in for a kiss as I see the flash bulbs pop around the room. Good. Hey, I whisper, brushing aside her sweaty hair as soon as I can function again. I was trying to ask you something, and I got distracted.
What's that?
She asks, tracing a finger along my nose and over along my jawline. Will you marry me?
What?
She pushes me off her chest and sits halfway up.
Are you serious?
We're sloppy and sticky, and we're tangled together on the floor, and none of this is like I planned, but everything about this is fucking perfect. I work my way up onto one knee and rummage around in my pants for the box I've been hiding all day. I find it among the forsythia branches that fell to the floor when I kicked over the stool, so I right myself and offer both to Olive. You're my entire world, I tell her. You're all that I ever wanted, and you're the best thing to ever happen to me. Marry me, I ask her. Marry me and make me the happiest man on earth.
Yes!
She screams, scrambling to reach my mouth and kiss me.
Yes, of course I will, Bax.
I fumble with the box and pull out the ring I had made for her. An emerald-cut diamond set flat in the platinum band. So it won't get caught on your patience, I tell her, sliding it onto her strong finger. I kiss her knuckle. I wanted you to be able to wear it to work.
It's perfect, Bax,
she says, pulling me in for a kiss.
I love our life together.
Me too, I tell her, stroking her hair and closing my eyes, imagining us growing old together, still feeling this spark, this beautiful, perfect love. Me too.
Thank you so much for reading. Would you consider leaving me a review? Can't get enough steamy romance? Subscribe to my newsletter so you never miss a new release. www.laneydavis.com. Newsletter subscribers get exclusive bonus content. You might also enjoy my Stag Brothers series. Sweet Distraction, Tim and Alice, Office Romance. Filled Potential, Ty and Juniper, Sports Romance. Fragile Illusion, Thatcher and Emma, Fake Fiancé Romance. A Stag Family Christmas, All the Stags. Hungry for sports romance? Check out these titles. Hard Edge, a hockey romance. Deep in the Pocket, a football romance. Possession, a football romance. Small town romance lover? You'll love Oak Creek. The Nerd and the Neighbor. The Botanist and the Billionaire. The Midwife and the Money. The Planner and the Player. This has been Possession, a football romance, Stone Creek University. Written by Laney Davis. Narrated by Crystal Crockett. Copyright 2019 by Laney Davis. Production copyright by Laney Davis.